welcome to The High Ground, a doof bonus content show where we're reliving George Lucas's beloved Star Wars prequel trilogy. I'm your Jedi Master, Georgia Diebold.
And I'm your rat-tailed Padawan, Elliot Diebold.
And I'm the youngling, Reuben Morehouse.
So we once again start with some thrilling exposition as we learn that there's growing dissatisfaction within the Republic, and that's led to a movement of separatists who are causing trouble or something, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, look, can we just say, like, these text scroll bits, they're so shitty, right? I know we said this last movie.
Why has Star Wars kept them around? It doesn't make sense.
It's so iconic, you know, like that, I don't know. I think, yeah, it's just really iconic.
Well, because I thought about this, because this one started episode 2, and I was like, that one might be even worse than the last one. And so I went and looked up the ones for episodes 4, 5, and 6, like the original movies, to sort of compare them. And like the ones in the original movies are actually pretty cool. Like they get it, they set up really exciting stuff about the world and like give you information that you really need to understand the movie. It's all stuff like the rebels, can't manage to set up a base because Vader is tracking them wherever they go. He's so relentless and he's blowing up all their shit. And then the movie like cuts straight to their base getting like attacked. So it kind of gives you cool and important set dressing. Whereas these prequel ones, it's just like they offload a bunch of exposition that they're probably going to cover again anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all politics again.
Yeah, exactly. Like this one, starts talking about like the movement of separatists, but there's no. The closest this one comes to being cool is like the mysterious Count Dooku, which was the one bit where I was like, ooh.
Mind you, would you rather that they tell, don't show that part of it? Like, do I want to have to watch somebody be dissatisfied with the Republic and decide to become a separatist? Like, yeah, I don't know, but it's not the most exciting setup. No.
As somebody who I think just didn't read the text scroll, I can definitely guarantee that you can still understand the movie without it. I do think it is just completely pointless.
It feels obligatory in these 3 films, like more than I feel like in the original 3 it was a device, and in these 3 it was like, oh shit, we got to have a text scroll.
Yeah, and even I remember, as much as I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels, but I remember going back in to watch like episode 9, and you know that you're coming in for a Star Wars movie, and then it's just like that big like da-na-na, da-na-na, and then it starts the text scroll, and it just started with like Luke Skywalker is missing, and everybody was like, ooh, and it was so exciting. These ones are not that. These ones are like, oh yeah, this political party is angry with this political party. And it's like, that's not really, nobody said ooh in the cinema, I don't think, for that, probably.
And like, if the sequel series are doing it better than you gotta reevaluate.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. Like, I actually think it would have been more fun to learn about the separatists, like having this, scene where the camera sort of whizzes through the Republic Senate as like people are leaving and there's like uproar and like declarations of war and all this like
now
shit.
That you say that as much as I said it might be better to tell, don't show this, now you've said that, I think, no, actually that sounds way better. Yeah, I take back what I said. That does sound way better.
I'm sure there's always a better way to display that kind of information than just literal text scroll on the screen, but I think Star Wars is still figuring that out.
Yeah, I guess commencing anything with narration is generally bad.
But it's worse than narration. It's worse than narration because it's narration you have to narrate for yourself.
Yeah.
I think. You go, Georgia.
I was just going to say, I feel like every time I watch a Star Wars film, the text is more slanted and more difficult to read than I ever remember. Like every time I'm like, oh, Jesus, it's like I'm standing so far away in the complete wrong angle. Like this is hard to, and you can never read the full line until it's like nearly halfway gone and it's like really small. Like it's genuinely difficult to read as well.
When are they going to do a Star Wars movie in 3D where the text actually comes towards you in 3D? That's what I want to see.
But it doesn't come towards you; it goes away.
Goes away from you, whatever. Yeah,
it
comes flying from behind you. Yeah,
and sort of flying away.
Because now I'm thinking, there's a bunch of like VR Star Wars games. They could totally do that, and it would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's what they need to freshen up this terrible gimmick.
I need it in 3D.
Get James Cameron onto this series. Yeah, I suppose like the other reason this one is maybe so boring is just because like nothing has happened between episodes 1 and 2. Maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit.
It's been 10 years and literally nothing has happened.
Like like we're going to bring up the 10 years thing, but it's just like basically the movies just took a gap so that Anakin could go through puberty. That's all that's
very
happened.
true. Actually, aside from that, it could have been like 2 years. Like, do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
exactly.
everything else. I mean, Jar Jar hasn't aged a day, unfortunately, but Obi-Wan just grew a beard.
I guess
a nice beard.
Padme is no longer queen, but still kind of is queen, so nothing's really changed there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, she's a senator or something now. I know, Georgia.
Yes. Oh, yes. So, Amidala is now a senator, and she flies to Coruscant to vote against a bill to create an official Republic army. So she does not want the army. Let's all remember that one crucial point. Someone explodes her ship, but she uses her same little trick as last movie to escape by having another girl who looks very much like her, R.I.P. Keira Knightley. Although I don't think this is actually Keira Knightley, but let's pretend that it is because that's more fun. And then the Jedi, with the help from Palpatine, have decided to assign Anakin and Obi-Wan to become her guards because they're so familiar to her from 10 years ago.
Was that not Keira Knightley? I didn't realize. I just assumed that it was.
Because I sort of thought that it was in my memory, but then when we were watching it, I thought, I don't think that's Keira Knightley, and I looked it up. It's not.
Oh, okay.
Aww.
Damn.
I think I said that, so I spread some false information there.
Oh, well. Yeah, I was going to say they look so similar, so again, good job on the casting, but I guess it wasn't Keira Knightley. So whoever is that new fake looks so similar to Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman.
Another good job. I don't think she's probably as famous as those two, though. I have no idea who this other chick is.
It wasn't the role as Padme that made Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman so famous. It's not true. Anyone who gets to be a fake Padme becomes famous. That rule doesn't necessarily hold.
No, it doesn't.
But no, I very much enjoyed this. Like, for those who don't know, we did do a live watch of this movie. And I think there was a second where Reuben legitimately thought they'd open the movie with killing Amidala.
How cool that would have been too. It would have had such stakes and such drama, but then no, of course it was a fake out.
Would have really probably sped up Anakin's descent to the dark side. He just would have gone crazy straight up.
Yeah. I mean, I do I kind of like it as a twist because it probably got me as a kid as well. And it's just it happens and then they're like, oh no, she used a body double, and it's kind of well, yeah, I mean they did that all the last movie. I actually think it's a good callback.
It's well set up. Yeah,
I like this. Yeah. Also, Yoda is in this scene. Should we just talk about Yoda now? And how they just gave up on him being a puppet this movie, apparently.
And you could really tell.
Yeah, the graphics have not aged well. He looks noticeably worse than he did in the first movie.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the first movie a puppet or CGI. I'm not actually sure.
Pretty sure it was a puppet because they had Yaddle, who was the
they did too. Who was the failed puppet. Noticeably failed puppet. I mean, they definitely used a puppet for the OG ones. And then there was a big debate about for Baby Yoda apparently whether to use puppet or CGI. And then they had the puppet that was fucking $5 million or something. And then apparently there were some scenes that because they weren't sure if the puppet would work out. And there's a little story that's so they were shooting some scenes without the puppet in them so that they could add CGI if they needed. And Werner Herzog, who's the guy who plays the client, the sort of German guy. So he was obsessed with the Baby Yoda puppet. And they went to shoot the scene without the puppet. And he was like, no, don't do it. He was really pro the puppet. He used to sit there and talk to it apparently. I was like, that is so cute. So anyway, they stuck with the puppet. But they sometimes CGI a little bit of his face. And I feel like that's the happy ground where you've got a bit of puppet, bit of CGI. This Yoda is it's all CGI and it's just that like slightly not quite right, which is really disconcerting.
Yeah, I think puppets naturally like age better just because like they're real in the scene. Like there are, you know, I can show you some old Doctor Who episodes that prove that puppets don't unilaterally age well. But like as you said with the Baby Yoda, if they can sort of touch it up, it's like, you know, the difference between drawing something and tracing over it. Like it'd be a lot easier to touch it up.
And it's basically Lord of the Rings versus the Hobbit movies. Where I just remember all these people after that came out like, how come I wasn't half as scared of that white orc as I was of that giant Uruk-hai in Lord of the Rings? And basically it was because that Uruk-hai was actually a huge man with like all this really, really good prosthetics and makeup. And it just was so much scarier than the white orc just didn't look real.
I wonder if the reason they went for CGI Yoda in this movie is because he has a fight scene at the end.
Yeah, it's totally the fight scene.
Probably.
And they you can't just like throw a puppet around. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
I mean, so good. I love that.
But why couldn't you switch to CGI for just that scene? Because it's like, you know, like you would substitute in a stunt double for a scene.
Yeah,
like that,
true.
Like when he's whipping around all fast. Like I don't think that's a reason to not use a puppet for scenes where he's sitting in his chair.
How much do these puppets cost? Because like I mean, the Baby Yoda one cost like $5 million or something. But then they should have already had the puppet, so yeah, I don't know. Unless was Yaddle a failed puppet that they decided not to use at all, and has Yoda been CGI'd this whole time because the puppet didn't
Yaddle
work?
was such a failure of a puppet that they decided to never use a puppet again.
Yeah, they were like, we are never ever using a puppet again.
but that can't be it either because Yoda looked better a month ago in episode 1.
I don't remember.
Yeah. He did.
He did look better.
Like he's gotten worse. I think that was a puppet last time.
He didn't do any kick-ass fight scenes in the first movie, and he did in this one. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah. We'll talk about the fight scene, but yeah.
So the other thing we're introduced to in this movie is teenage angsty Anakin, oh boy, it's a really real bad character.
He's such a like nice guy. TM.
He really is.
I mean, props to the actor because honestly, he made me so angry. Like this is like Joffrey from Game of Thrones level. Just get off my screen. I hate you.
Well, it made me think of like growing up. So in my teenage years was like the big Twilight phenomenon, and you know, all of us are kind of reading it, and me and all my friends, we did like it, but at the same time, we were like, am I supposed to be cool with a guy who sits and like watches me sleep? And like, this is actually a very unhealthy relationship. Like they're very codependent and it's like too intense. This is worse than that even. Like, and we were teenage girls and we were like, this isn't okay.
Yeah, this relationship does not pass the very low internet meme bar of still a better love story than Twilight because it's not.
It doesn't. It's actually worse. It's so unhealthy.
It's crazy to me to think about it because, like, you know, there are competent people behind this. So clearly they were kind of trying to toe the line where, you know, Darth Vader can't be a fully, like, kind and wholesome character, right? There has to be something fucked up about him. So they kind of turn him into an incel. And it just is so weird. Like, I guess they were trying to toe that line of he can't be a romantic hero. He has to be a little bit creepy. And they just failed to not make him a total weirdo.
I would argue him being a complete romantic would work because it would make the fall greater, which I could get behind. But also, I think having him be an incel who doesn't realize he's the worst could still work. Like the bit that sort of undermines it, and I think really confused us, was that Padme is so into it.
Yeah,
but
that's
she's
the
not
most uncomfortable bit.
She's not into it though. That's the thing. She doesn't act into it. She acts like he's a disgusting creep, which he is. But then just halfway through acting like he's a disgusting creep, she suddenly says, "Oh, I love you," or whatever. You know, like
yeah, it's
she
really
has
weird.
the appropriate reactions until she just suddenly is in love with him.
That I want to call that out. Like that was another moment in our group watch. Where the bit, I think it was on Geonosis, where Padme is like, "I actually love you too."
It's so out of the blue.
Your reaction
it
to
comes
that was
out of
fucking
nowhere.
hilarious.
Yeah,
She's
really
basically
does.
been creeped out by him the whole movie, and then she's suddenly like, "Oh, I'm deeply in love with you," and it's like, "What? Since
See,
when?"
I didn't get the vibe she was creeped out after they got to Naboo.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and they
Like,
started becoming friends.
In Naboo, it felt more like they were trying to do that, like, thing that James Bond also tries, where it's like, oh, she's not into it, but if you keep pushing, like, then she'll reveal she wanted it all along. Like, that same,
Yeah.
like, stupid thing.
No,
Like,
yes.
yeah, it was like they were going for, like, she's saying no with her words, but yes with her eyes or some bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like a Twilight-esque of like that they were trying to maybe make it that it was really like intense and involved, which like most of the time actually just comes across as creepy and over the top and controlling. So I don't know whether they were trying to go for like very intense and passionate and just totally didn't land that and just missed and got whatever we have in this movie, but it makes everybody very uncomfortable.
Well, because it's so lopsided. Like, Anakin's just a creep. Like, he sounds like he's a GPT AI thing trained on love poems. He says all this weird shit. Padme just usually tries to ignore him, and then there's just that moment where she's just like, "Oh no, I loved this."
It's like they kept like waiting for the moment where he suddenly is wearing a hat and he's like, "Milady." Like that's how it felt.
It's a mess. It's a real mess.
So I guess any other Anakin Padme bullshit before we, because I kind of want to close the book on that for the rest of this episode. Otherwise, it will just become the whole thing.
Yeah, it is a solid amount of the movie, though. So I feel like even if we don't have more to say about it, we should just reaffirm it one more time that it's the worst.
It's so bad. And the saddest part is that pretty much the whole rest of the movie around it is actually pretty good. Like,
yeah, I think this would be a great movie if not for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the rest of the dialogue's just like whatever. This is like bad dialogue, just so many grown out loud moments. You're like, oh, it's like visceral. You just can't listen to it. It's so bad.
It's
and then
top
the rest of the movie's pretty good.
Humor.
It's weird.
Actually, it's funny. This was another example. I think I talked last time about how in my head the fish chase scene under Naboo was way longer.
Yeah,
I did actually remember the romance scenes in this movie being much, much more of it. Like, I thought they were about 50% of the runtime. They're actually probably more like 20.
I remember that scene where they're like frolicking in the meadow on Naboo. In my mind, from watching that as a kid, I remember that being like an hour. I remember being like, they're still in this meadow. And it was like probably 5 minutes. Maybe.
I mean, that's still quite a long time.
Yeah, it's true.
No, there's a reason it blew up in our heads like that. It was just funny watching it because, like, every time it cut back to Anakin and Padme, I was like, mentally, I was like, okay, fucking buckle in. I take a couple of sips of whiskey, and then it would be over in about 2 minutes. And I was like, oh, I remember that being like 20 minutes long. It just feels that way.
I actually remember being in the cinema to watch this one, even though I would have been like very young. So I remember the particular friend who was there with me, and we were like, kept getting bored and like kind of playing around like under the seats and stuff. But I remember finding the Colosseum scene super exciting and thinking like, oh, there was all that romance bit that was just really boring. And I was like, I don't know, what, 7?
Yeah, good news. You were correct.
Yeah,
you were right.
Are these supposed to be for kids? Like, aren't these movies meant to be for kids? Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we'll definitely bitch about this romance a little bit, but I feel like we should acknowledge all of it. Yeah, here, if that makes sense.
We have talked about it for a while, I think.
I just don't want to beat this dead horse for the whole movie. I'm sure everybody listening to this is like, they've presumably watched the movie. They know how awful it is.
Fair enough.
All right, so moving on. As Elliot and Reuben discussed why only Chads get the girl, they sense a worm in Padme's room. They go in and kill it, and Obi-Wan manages to jump onto a droid that dropped off as it starts to leave, like through the window, and then we get an awesome car chase.
That is so great. The bit where he jumps out the window, it's so So obviously Obi-Wan has been talking about how Anakin needs to, like follow the rules and shit. and then he just jumps out this window, and they're like 100 stories up or something, and grabs onto this drone. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen, and it's such an exciting way to kick off a chase sequence. It had me immediately hooked on this sequence.
Yeah, you're right. It's great because Obi-Wan, it's like they're in this room and he's chatting to Anakin, and the whole thing of his conversation with Anakin is like, you're too impulsive and you're too emotional. You need to like calm down. And then it's like 5 seconds later, he just yeets himself out this window, and you're like, oh shit, it's on. Yeah, I love this scene.
Yeah, it's very good. Like it starts with him just like hurling himself out the window, and then I love the car chase because firstly it's in 3 dimensions, which actually made it different from a regular car chase. Like you've got, we can go up and down as well. Plus I think this is the first time that you really get to like see Coruscant, which I like as a planet. Like it's so cool how it's just this whole planet that's just this big like urban landscape with just like, and it's at night, so it's all like dark with all the just like artificial lights coming out of everywhere, and like all the people just driving their cars home from work or something. Yeah, I just thought it was a really nice like setup of the scene.
Yeah, it really feels like it has a nice kind of 3-dimensional physicality to it.
Yeah, and like then when Anakin jumps out of the car as well, he's like, oh, and just like lands on the thing, and you're just like, everybody's just fucking like Jedi just flying around the place.
That bit where he jumps out of the car, by the way, that's crazy. There's no way that he could like. So I don't know. Jedi are just sometimes can do anything.
Sometimes they're very
actually, yeah.
We've still never seen a return of the super speed from episode 1.
Maybe that's what it was, because that's like a level of prediction that is so high above whatever anything else the Jedi have been able to do, right?
Yeah, because it's not like he didn't jump like 5 meters. It was like a 100.
It was like a 30-second drop. Yeah,
he dropped for a long time.
Well, maybe he was using super speed up, so that he was only falling like 2 meters per second.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's super anti-gravity.
Yeah, no, I agree with your point earlier though, Georgia. Like Coruscant is actually a really cool setting. And like I don't know if I talked about it on here last time, but like I've been watching some Clone Wars and stuff to just because I was enjoying it after our Medium D episode on it. And some of my favorite episodes of that show are the Coruscant ones.
I think they set it up as a very like it's like a very New York-esque type thing, in that there's like very much there's like a real upper class and there's like a real underbelly full of like a lot of criminal activity, and Doug's aka Death Sticks, which apparently somebody wrote still give you a PG rating or something.
Oh yeah. As I was writing these notes, I actually had Attack of the Clones like open in a tab because I was trying to do and as I was writing the note on Death Sticks, I was saying like, come on, George, like you have to at least try with your metaphors. This is ridiculous. I noticed the movie's actually PG for showing tobacco depictions, and I was like, oh come on, guys, like you just.
I don't even know if he actually even. Do you actually even see one, or does he just mention them? I don't know.
He's holding a death stick. It looks like one of those, those like those little candies. What are they?
Oh,
like
yeah,
a candied cigarette, like a musk stick.
Yeah,
musk stick.
Yeah, musk stick. That's the one. The pink ones.
Yeah. The guy's like holding a musk stick.
It's probably what it actually was.
No, the thing that jumped out to me as we were watching this car chase scene as well was, how was that not like a roller coaster ride? Like it was filmed as if you were on like, I felt like I was in one of those like 4D roller coaster things, except I didn't have the third or the fourth D.
You somehow fell out of time? How did you do that?
Have they never turned that into the Coruscant, robot drone chase kind of thing? That could be a ride, I reckon.
I think there is the Star Wars land.
Yeah, I still can't believe that there's apparently like a Star Wars land, and I didn't know about it. And it got mentioned in the chat, in the live watch, and I was like, how didn't I know that Star Wars World existed?
Well, they're opening Nintendo World in Florida in a couple of years, Georgia. So
yeah, but then you have to go to Florida and America.
Yeah, but there's a Disneyland. There's a Disneyland there too. So we'll just go.
It might get destroyed in the pending civil war.
So jumping back to the car chase, I want to mention there's this part where, as they're driving around crazily, there's a guy that they drive past who just says in alien language, like, "Oh, booga booga Jedi," or whatever, and in this kind of tone where it's like, I mean, it's an alien language, so we don't know exactly what he says, but he basically seems like he's saying, "Oh, these gosh darn Jedi," which indicates this scenario of Jedi hanging off of drones and racing through the city is very common and like a stereotype about Jedi in Coruscant, which I just thought was great.
Which, I mean, these two do both jump around a lot, just like jumping on other people's cars.
Yeah.
I would love to see, there's a Clone Wars episode they should make, which is just like some normal person who's just like, trying to deliver their cabbages or something, and these fucking Jedi keep whizzing past,
But also, how do they I was going to say, how do they know they're Jedi? Jedi are probably the only ones who can do that.
Yeah.
Now that
and
I think
who are
about it.
wearing
Without
weird
dying.
ceremonial robes.
Yeah, they do wear a lot of robes. I don't know, it's like half of them wear these very like traditional and consistent robes, and then the rest of them just wear whatever they want. It is a bit inconsistent.
The Jedi Order? Inconsistent? No way.
Yeah, it's a symbol. It's a symbolic of the inconsistencies in their morals.
In their morality, yeah, exactly.
So anyway, they chase the shapeshifter culprit to a local bar, but just as she's about to give them the hot goss, she's shot by her mysterious employer. We have another mysterious Count. This is not the mysterious Count Dooku, though. This is another mysterious person.
Yeah, so I guess like we already sort of jumped on the Death Sticks stuff in this bar, but to talk about Death Sticks guy a bit more.
Is he your favorite character?
This is an important thing to
This
go
is the
back
focal
over.
point of the movie.
I mean, I just found him very relatable. No, like Obi-Wan does the mind control thing on him, and I know this is a drum we've beat already, but like it's just so weird to casually walk into a bar and mind control someone like this who's not actually doing anything wrong. Like, I suppose you could get into an ethical argument about selling death sticks.
Yeah, death sticks
They're
kill
called
people,
death
Elliot.
sticks. They presumably kill you. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like this guy's just like bugging Obi-Wan. Like, I don't know. I got the vibe that he mind controlled him to make him go away more than to like actually. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it does always sit funny with me that like for these people who are like very sort of on their high horse, like as a general rule, the Jedi, they just seem to make this big exception for like free will. Like they give no shits about slavery, apparently. And then they'll just, and like Qui-Gon in episode 1, he's just like, oh no, like he's just trying to get Watto to agree to a different currency. It's like, that's not a good use of your powers. Like, come on.
And the grossest thing about it is Jedi mind tricks only work on, feeble-minded creatures or whatever they say, which is
so much worse.
I know, it just is inherently like either you can't use your Jedi mind tricks on someone, fine, that means they're like sentient, or the other one is just like you use your Jedi mind trick on somebody and that therefore means they're just a lower class citizen, and therefore it's fine to just like take control of them mentally, which is fucking insane.
I feel like this is the problem with the Jedi, is they represent maintaining the order, and what we're constantly doing is running around this galaxy and seeing that it's a fucking mess, and the Jedi is still just like, oh, we've got to make sure that the Senate is okay.
It's like those people who like their room is like a disgusting pigsty. This isn't my sister Hannah. It is. But it's like their room is disgusting, but they're like, oh no, like it's an organized mess. That's what it feels like. It's like they're just maintaining the order of the hot mess that is the current state of things. Of like, as long as it doesn't change, because we're benefiting and we're comfortable.
But the thing is, to extend that analogy, it's never 100% static. If you have an organized mess, it's always slowly and incrementally getting more and more messy over time, right? So you say you're maintaining it, but really all you're doing is letting it slide into, mess.
Permanency.
Yeah.
And again,
Back
this
to
is
Death
very
Sticks,
much this is very much targeted at my sister, Hannah.
Okay.
You could just clean the fucking mess and it'd be so much easier to deal with.
Oh my God, yes.
Do you guys want me to help stage an intervention or something?
It wouldn't help.
No.
Too far gone.
You've tried that.
Uh,
um, uh, well, in the bar as well. There's like a sports screen. I just wanted to talk about this because this was just fun world building. Like, there's like we see three screens, which you always see in bars. Like they always have all the sports, and it's like there's like some weird lizard horse racing, and then there's pod racing, of course. And then they have like droid NFL,
I
which
did not
like
see the droid NFL. I saw you write that and I thought, I'm going to have to click on the movie and go back and find that because that sounds
it,
amazing.
yeah, there's like a little shot of droids playing NFL, and I'm just like, that's wait, why would you watch droid? Like, aren't they robots? Like, they all looked exactly identical. Like, I don't really understand what the point of that would be. I don't know.
I think
Maybe
you're
it's like
overthinking that.
it could be like racing, where it's kind of like you want to see which team can put together the best bot, right? So it's a bit
I like that.
engineering and sports. Although I guess the droids are sentient, so that maybe again makes it a bit weirder.
It's like that Hugh Jackman movie with the kid and the big robot.
Oh yeah, Real Steel.
Yeah, that's
Is that the one. Yeah.
What?
Classic. It's like a boxing movie, but with robots.
No. Okay. Yeah, I know, and as well, like I liked seeing the little sports stuff in here because I think something these movies and even Clone Wars, like, are really shit at doing is just showing how normal people live in the Star Wars galaxy. So the idea that there is droid NFLs just a nice detail.
The thing that was always the best about Clone Wars to me is the stories that feature like the clone troopers, right? Because they're actual like human beings more so than the Jedi. And I you're right. I think that's something that always helps make Star Wars stories land, is if they have the more human elements to them.
I think that's why The Mandalorian is doing so well, is because it's just like set out in the middle of like, you know, the sort of dregs of society. And it focuses on like people who don't have superpowers.
Yeah, but it's just different. Even then, like things like The Mandalorian or the more human Clone Wars, it's still like people in notable places who end up sort of doing a notable thing, like interacting with the big world some way.
Because I don't just want to watch somebody like go to work, because I do that myself every day. I don't need to watch that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want to watch a 1.5 hour movie about Blorg who works in the slurp factory and watches droid NFL, but I want to know that he's out there. You know,
I wanted to see him for a second, like buying a death stick or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like we never sort of get that feeling that there are other people just living in this universe.
Yeah, that's very true.
I think that's what Coruscant is good for, right? Because it is just a New York analogy, so you can have the like, you know, people walking by on the street or flying by in the space highway, as it may be, you know?
Yeah, we'll get to the diner scene, but that's like actually the best example in any Star Wars thing I can think of right now that does exactly what I'm asking. Yeah.
Can we talk about the shapeshifter lady? Because,
yes.
Okay, so they're chasing this lady, and as she runs into the bar, we see her kind of look towards the camera for a bit and her face kind of morphs, and you're like, oh my god, she like some kind of shapeshifter or something's going on here, what's going to happen? And then they track her down and kill her, and the shapeshifting never really plays into it. Sorry, they don't kill her, but she dies. And the shapeshifting is just not relevant ever.
It's an obstacle for like 5 seconds that they overcome. Like,
she goes into the bar and they're like, oh, she's going to go in there to hide out. And so you think there's going to be like a scene where they're like chasing her and she like changes into a different character or whatever. And that never really happens. They just kind of find her and then that's it.
Yeah, I thought we were starting like for a whole thing where like, you know, Anakin turns around and sees Obi-Wan and is like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to find her. And then it turns out that she's like changed into Obi-Wan. But nah.
No. Well, especially because she could have gotten away. She comes up and tries to kill Obi-Wan, and that's why she gets caught. If she just stayed shapeshifted and fucking left, like, she could have just been fine, and that would have been a whole thing, because it's like, well, she was a shapeshifter. We were never going to just find her in the bar.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that really confused me is that when, like, they start chasing her, like, after Obi-Wan jumped out the window like a friggin' boss, they're saying, oh, and they're calling the assassin like a he. So they've already mistaken the gender, and then they do this whole thing where, you know, she's got this like big thing covering her face, and then she removes that, and you're like, oh, it's a lady. But it's like, why did she need to cover her face if she's a shapeshifter? She could have just changed her face. It doesn't make any sense. Why?
It feels like they had a lot more stuff to do with this assassin and just had to cut it out because it was so convoluted. And so now she's just randomly a shapeshifter.
Well, because this whole scene is like a bit of a joke in the fan base because there's basically this whole thing how, so Padme's in her room and she's going to get killed by the worms. And this assassin is the one who put the worms in there. And the assassin was hired by Jango Fett. And Jango Fett was hired by Dooku, who was told by Sidious to kill Padme. And it's like, why are there so many people involved in this?
No, Georgia, it's because Sidious is a job creator. This is why we need him to be ruling the galaxy.
Because I think somebody mentioned in the chat, sort of like, isn't it weird that Jango Fett, who is by trade like a bounty hunter and assassin, hired another assassin?
Yeah, why did he subcontract this out? It doesn't make sense.
Why didn't he just do it himself? And then he just has to kill her anyway because she fucks it up. So we should have just done it yourself, man. Like, this is your job.
What level of redundancy? So he was there just to double check. Maybe he was like trying out a new apprentice or something. Yeah. So brought her in and wanted to just kind of observe and see that she did well, and she fucked it up.
He's not known to them and recognizable or anything, right? Like,
no.
There's no reason why he could not have done it himself.
I could see wanting that degree of separation where it's like if she didn't get caught, but they, saw her face, then, it would be like they'd be hunting for her, but he could get away. Not that matters because she was a shapeshifter, although mine.
Not that she used it.
Yeah, I don't know. It does kind of seem like he ends up having to show his face anyway, and he loses at the end of the day because of that. So it's just kind of like, I don't know, you might have just been better off trying this yourself, buddy.
On, maybe I just wasn't concentrating hard enough, but I still don't know how Obi-Wan ended up deducing that Jango was the assassin.
There's a shot where they show the armor in his like bunk while Obi-Wan's in there, and then
did he see his helmet?
His son Bubble Tea like shuts the door, but like they never show Obi notice it.
Bubble Tea? I don't know, that really got me for some reason.
What's his name?
Here's some Bubble Tea Fett. All right, I'm good.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Like they show the armor in there, which is like telling us the audience, oh, that's Jango Fett. But like I was looking for it, and I didn't think they showed us seeing like Obi seeing that.
Yeah.
Did they maybe just see his helmet just after he shot the assassin or something? Must have done. Can't think of any other reason.
I think Obi just sort of decided this guy was sus, and he's probably saying it's the Force.
I think that's what happened. Because he has like he sends a message back or something, and the message is like, I don't trust this guy, but I don't have any evidence. And then he's just kind of right.
Well, do you know what I think? I think it's probably he sensed it with the Force, because I feel like you can just fall back onto that for anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's the explanation.
That sounds, healthy. I'm not biased. It's the Force.
Anyway, after this second attempt on her life, it's decided that Padme needs to go into hiding with Anakin for some reason. As she prepares to leave, she appoints Jar Jar Binks as her replacement for some reason also. Nothing makes any sense in this section.
In what world? Why would you, like...
Coruscant is the answer to that.
But literally anyone else.
He's literally just some random creature that Anakin literally ran into on the forest floor. He has no relevance to anything. He's clearly bad at this job. Like, it just makes it so nonsensical.
I think there's an implication that he's been in Coruscant for the last 10 years. So
poor Padme. Well, I suppose she's been in 10 years. I don't know.
Like, I assume it had to be someone who was from Naboo.
But it's like, surely
there's someone...
Palpatine is from Naboo. Can't he do it for a bit? She's only going for a little bit.
Oh, surely there's someone staying in a hotel somewhere.
What happened to all those handmaidens?
What about the captain of the guard or something, right? Like,
did all of her handmaidens get killed? What happened to her decoy thing? She trusted her decoys when she was the queen.
See, the funny thing about Palpatine, that like you suggested Palpatine, Georgia, and I was like, that's a good, because that gets you the same end result from a story perspective, because he's just going to vote for the thing he actually wants.
Mm.
But
but it makes sense
But
internally.
like,
why anyone would
that makes
pick.
sense.
Yeah.
And then you could have not had Jar Jar. Jar Jar could have just died in the past 10 years.
Yeah. Gungans could just have a 2-year lifespan.
I remember you saying that in the watch room, and you were just like, they could have just said Gungans have 2-year lifespans and Jar Jar's dead, and it would have cost them nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Would have saved the CGI budget.
This is one of those examples where I'm just like, okay, Darth Jar Jar actually makes more sense than the actual story of these movies. Because him being in league with Palpatine and manipulating people's minds to make them do this just makes so much more sense than... Actually, you know what? No, Padme has shown that she has poor judgment. So you know what? Maybe...
This is true.
Yeah.
That's true, yeah. This is just the story of Padme completely trusting the wrong people over and over again.
But I love as well, it's like the first thing, like, she's basically like, oh, Jar Jar, yeah, so you're gonna, like, take over for me as I go. And he starts just going on this, like, annoying rant about, you know, how he's so grateful and blah. And she basically, the first thing she does is be like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Like, just stop talking. He goes, oh, okay. It's like,
great
why?
choice.
She's like, oh, God, I hate it when you talk. Yeah, please stand in for me as a politician. Like,
yeah. Yikes.
Anyway, so Obi-Wan goes to visit an old friend who we were all very, very impressed with, who runs a diner because they're trying to track the dart that was used to kill the shapeshifter. And old mate gives him a home planet of origin, which is Kamino.
How does he know that Kamino exists, by the way?
It's not even in the Jedi archives.
Yeah, I didn't really put this together, but surely... I don't know. I mean, I guess it makes sense that just like this one type of dart is very iconically from this planet that also hasn't been heard of in 10 years, I guess.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, it's implied that I looked up this guy's name and it's Dexter Jetster.
Classic.
Fucking
sounds like it's out of
So
the
good.
Jetsons.
But so presumably, like, Dexter retired. Like, because I got the impression that Caminos were always kind of isolated, but it's only in the last 10 years that they've fallen off the map. So, like, for old people, what's bad is, like, what a shit move by Django to use that dart. Like, if he...
Yeah, why would he? Like, the iconic dart of the one place that he lives. Or not just he lives, where a million of him live.
Yeah, the fucking secret base he has.
And like, he's not from there. Like, nothing else he has looks like it's from there. He's wearing Mandalorian armor and all this other stuff. Why does he use a Kamino dart?
Just poor decision making.
Yeah. Maybe because they're supposed to be like really medically advanced. Maybe they have like really good poison or something. But then are they in on the assassination attempt? Why are they giving Jango Fett poison darts? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think he just asked, hey, do you guys have any poison darts?
Hey, look.
I mean, they do know he's a bounty hunter, I suppose, but...
They manufacture armies. Like arms dealing doesn't feel like it's out of their wheelhouse.
True. They are arms
like,
dealers.
I'll give you some money.
So let's talk about this diner scene, shall we? Because I really liked, like what you were saying earlier, Elliot. This feels like we're just in the world of Star Wars, right? Because, you know, one of the most famous, if not the most famous scenes from Star Wars entirely is the cantina scene in the first film, right? And this is trying to me, sounds like it's like, it feels like it's trying to go down that path again of like being, okay, it's a cool little diner, it's got some wacky, weird alien characters. Like, yeah, it just feels like there's some normal people, there's a life in this New York City analogy.
Yeah, I think this is better than the cantina at doing that. Like, it has been years since I saw that cantina scene, but like, we go in there and there's some sort of wacky aliens, and then we meet Han Solo, who isn't really like a normal person. Whereas like here we just meet like this fucking dude who works in his diner. Yeah, and like there's, you know, just people moving about in the background, like the robot serving lady. I don't know. This felt like way more authentic to me.
Dexter is just so cool. Like, he's just a cool looking alien.
Yeah, he's cool. He's got 4 arms. He's kind of a grease bag. He's great.
He keeps having to pull his pants up, and he's got like a fierce mustache.
Such a nice touch. Like, he felt like a real, like a real genuine, just like off the streets character. Also, kind of like, I feel like there's sort of this implication, you know, like him and Obi-Wan are friends, and it's like, makes me think of that thing how, you know, Jedi presumably used to be or supposed to be more like cops, And, you know, this is like Obi-Wan's underground contact, like maybe Dexter Jetster used to be involved in some sort of like criminal activity, but was like not a super bad guy, like maybe a bit like sort of just small time stuff. And they sort of, you know, maybe Obi-Wan helped him out sometime and now they're kind of friends. And, you know, being in touch with kind of with the people, whereas, you know, now it's like it's all just like fighting Count Dooku and talking about politics, and they just sit up and discuss things with the Senate, and they're not like down with the plebs anymore.
Yeah.
Sort of an extra layer that I desperately sought out in this scene for some reason.
No, it definitely, you're right. Now that you put that to it, it definitely feels like a like, it's surprising how much this movie kind of feels like a cop procedural sometimes. This scene is definitely out of NCIS or whatever.
Also, speaking of CGI models after the Yoda stuff, Sebulba gets a lot of use in this movie. Like, Sebulba is in the diner
used
here.
to always do that at school.
And he was in the car chase scene as well. They drove past a few Sebulbas. It was very much like they must have run out of budget or something. And they're like, I'll just throw a couple of Sebulbas in there.
But Sebulba was so cool looking as well. His weird little hand arm things.
It's worth reusing. It is a cool design.
The name of that species apparently is Dugs. They're Dugs. Sebulba is a Dug.
The Sebulba ones?
Yep.
Dugs. Like a D-O-U-G? Like
no, just D-U-G. But, okay, here's a fun fact. I'm just on Wikipedia right now. So Dugs, they have this, system of government. The Dugs are led by a council called the Dug Council. And the leader of the Dug Council, in other words, the president of Dugs, is called a Doge.
No!
Doge. D-O-G-E, the leader of the Dug Council.
That's amazing.
Big title. Many impressive.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I hadn't realized. I've just looked it up as well. That's spelled Doug, like just D-U-G.
Just D-U-G, yeah, exactly.
Just Doug.
Doug.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Star Wars really
alternates. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, I know, right? This is the best part about Star Wars.
They really alternate between like names that just have way too much effort put in and names that just have nowhere near enough effort put in.
Because, you know, I was trying to look up this, I thought that there was a meme about the Death Stick guy that I'd seen that had a fun fact associated with it, which I couldn't end up finding. But I sort of looked up, like, Star Wars Death Stick guy. That dude has a name, like, he has, like, a whole history where it turns out that, you know, after the Clone Wars, he actually decided, like, to become an activist for, like, anti-death stick stuff and, like, trying to get people unaddicted to death sticks. Like, I gotta look it up again because it was amazing. And then there was all this stuff saying, like, the thing about Star Wars is that it was like a Reddit post, somebody being like, I know that the thing of Star Wars is that even if somebody is in a shot for, like, about 2 seconds and somebody's elbow is covering half of their face, they're going to have a backstory. So what's the Death Stick guy's backstory?
Of extended universe.
Oh my god,
novels.
The guy's name is Elan Sleazebargano.
That's it.
No, it's not. Oh my god, tell me that's not true. Elan Sleazebargo.
But then look up the thing about what he does after the Clone Wars and stuff. It's so
Elan
funny.
Sleazebargano.
In the Imperial era, Sleazebargano, now with a child of his own, passed by a conversation between Leia Organa and Forza on Coruscant. That's from Star Wars Adventures 25, which is a comic book or some shit.
He passed by a conversation between Leia. That's his claim to fame.
I like
so good.
I do think it's funny because you can imagine that like half of this comes from. Do you remember when movies used to come with like companion books, and it was clear that the companion writers just got to write whatever the fuck they wanted, and it became canon. And I feel like that's where probably half of the Star Wars canon comes from at this point. Is just like some dude getting paid $5 an hour, or no, it'd be like $5 a page. So he's fucking skimming it, and he's just like, oh shit, I need to write a whole page on some dude who sold death sticks. Fine, his name's Sleazebargano, and he's a hobbit from the Shire. No, wait, hold on.
No, can't use that again.
yeah, like I don't know, I do just find it fun, like because I think Doctor Who's got some of the same stuff. Like sometimes I'm looking up stuff on the Doctor Who wiki, and I'm just like, "Where's this from?" And it's
Who
like
wrote
from
this?
if it's like from the Doctor Who Companion Guide 2006, which states that Rose's grandfather's uncle helped the Doctor in season 4, and it's like, oh fuck off.
Yeah, some of it's a bit much.
And okay, actually, while we're talking about like all this stuff, I can't remember exactly why I put it here. Maybe because there's a droid serving the drinks, but and, and I've realized since I put this in the notes, this is actually probably a well-versed subject, so maybe I don't want to give it as much time as I thought. But like, what's the deal with droids and their level of sentience, and how I should feel about whether they have rights or not in Star Wars? Because this series is all over the fucking place.
Yeah, I feel like it's really inconsistent.
Like,
yeah, sometimes they're just they're perceived as very much just like the help type thing, and then other times like there's all this stuff like about R2 and other droids being kind of better and very beloved because they're very like loyal and much more sentient. But yeah, I don't know, because there's like a whole arc in Clone Wars where Anakin's like trying to save R2 or something, or no, R2 comes to save Anakin and Mace Windu, and the whole time Mace Windu's like, he's just a droid, and Anakin's like, he's more than that. And then there's that droid from Solo, who's like that hilarious droid from Solo, who's all like pro droid rights. So it's like they touch on it, like it's clearly an issue in this universe, but like they just like sky past it all the time.
Well, yeah, the one in Rogue One, is it, with the one who's protesting droid? Because I wanted to talk about that one because that one was like treated as if it was meant to be a joke.
It is. It's a joke character, right?
And like I was watching now, like okay, so
it's in Solo, isn't she in Solo?
Is it?
Oh, maybe.
No, maybe it is Rogue One. I can't remember now. Anyway.
Rogue One's the one I fell asleep in, so I feel like the fact that I barely remember this character would make Rogue One.
Rogue One is so
Rogue
good.
One, yeah. No, but like, okay, so as I was watching Clone Wars, I watched some of that Star Wars Rebels show recently, and they have a droid in that called Chopper, and Chopper kicks fucking ass.
Yeah, Chopper's
I'll start with that.
Radical.
But like they just alternate even within a scene as to whether Chopper is like an equal sentient part of the team or just like some fucking slave who needs to do what they say. Yeah. And it's just like the more really I see of droids in these movies, the more I'm just like, so like, what are we doing here? Like, a droids, they're clearly smart and sentient, and they just have no rights. And I'm like, I don't want to watch Rogue One again now because I'm going to feel super uncomfortable about this droid that I think is absolutely bang on that droids need rights.
Well, there's either I don't know if you guys remember this from like the original film A New Hope, but when they go into the cantina bar, the guy literally is like, "No droids, we don't accept your kind here," and R2 and C-3PO have to wait outside. Because they're not allowed in the bar because they're droids. It's like, is this supposed to be an analogy for, like, human rights and minorities? I can't tell.
You can never tell with Star Wars, can you? That's the thing. You can never tell if it's just meant to be whimsical or making a statement.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and like that would be fine, kind of, in a series that's been going for like 50 years and you've got all these different authors with different interpretations. But it's like, even within specific movies, I can't tell if they have an opinion on where they sit with this.
Yeah.
The closest one comes to having that is the movie with the joke "Droids Right Thing," which kind of seems to treat it as if it shouldn't be taken seriously. Yeah. I mean,
they're all just kind of like, haha, oh you. And you sit there, you're like, does she have a point? Like,
wasn't there a thing in Clone Wars that was like R2-D2 has developed like a personality and more skills because Anakin refuses to reset his personality like every
and
mission?
that's the same with Chopper as well. In Rebels, like that.
Right, yeah.
Hera has just like kept him and like not erased him or something. So it's like this concept that if you quit wiping their mind clean every however long, they actually develop a sentient personality, which is worse. It's so much worse.
You're essentially like, it was essentially routine for the Jedi army in Clone Wars to murder all of their droids. Like, I would be willing to call it murder. It's also like the whole droid thing. I think like somebody, after I wrote these notes, somebody linked a YouTube video to me, just like separately. I saw it about like droid rights in Star Wars, and I want to go watch that now. I should have done that before this because like
Yeah,
I
that'd
feel like
actually be interesting.
I feel like you could just milk like 30 minutes of content just tearing apart how droids are treated in this universe very easily.
It's there's so much complexity to these droid rights things, but actually all that droids exist for are exposition devices, right? Like R2D2 just says bleep bloop, and then C3PO translates it to the audience to say, "Oh yes, we have to go to deliver the kyber crystals to the Resistance or whatever."
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I never thought of it like that, but it's so true that it's like it's such an easy way to spur exposition because how they'll phrase it is like, yeah, R2D2 will like beep boop, and they'll be like, oh no, we can't do that, we should do this, and it's such an easy
Yeah.
way to bring in like an argument or like
Well,
explain what you're
yeah.
doing.
3PO will say, "Oh no, if they go in there, R2, it might be very dangerous." And then we as the audience know, "Oh yeah, okay, that's what's coming up in the next 10 minutes."
But another way they use that I really love is like not so much in the film, so we're going a little off track here, but like particularly in Rebels with the droid Elliot mentioned Chopper, is that somebody will say something and then it'll kind of like beep boop beep boop, and then people are like, oh my god, how could you say that? Like that's horrible. Or like, oh my god, this droid is so rude. And it's just so funny because you can't you don't know what he said. So it's like that thing where, somebody dying off stage is sort of worse because you're left to like imagine just how horrible it was. And it's like that. He's constantly causing these really these big reactions in people, but you have got no idea what he said. You just have to assume he's really fucking rude. It's so funny.
I know this isn't a Star Wars Rebels show, but Chopper, honestly, I finally got droids after, because I usually find R2D2 and C3PO tiring.
They're the worst, yeah. They're the worst characters.
Chopper, I was like, Chopper is R2D2 done right. It's like whoever was in charge of writing Rebels was just like, I'm going to do this shit properly. Like, as George just said, the way that they often use it where they don't tell us what he said, but we'll have to imply tone. Like, Chopper had more personality than honestly half the people in this movie, in Star Wars Rebels, and he doesn't say anything. It's honestly, it's insane. How cool Chopper is in Star Wars Rebels. He even has a friend who's like an C3PO that's not shit. I forget its name.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about?
I do, yeah. Oh, what's his name? Yeah, no, I can't remember his name.
Who cares? But it's like, he's like C3PO, but I didn't want to cheese grate on my eyes every time he was on screen.
Yeah. Anyway, so Obi-Wan returns to the Jedi Temple after this.
What were we talking about?
I don't know where we got to, so I'm just moving it on. So Obi-Wan gets back to the Jedi Temple, and then he goes to the library to check the records, but finds that the Camino system is missing from the archives, which are incomplete, even though the lady says that this is awesome.
I put that in there because I thought it was a meme.
It is a meme. It is.
Yes. Nailed it.
Good job, Elliot.
You did it.
So the layout of this library makes no sense because there's like rows of bookshelves, but they're not actually books, they're just lights. What is this?
Because they need to convey to us that this is a library, but also, of course, it wouldn't have books. So they're caught in this weird middle ground of set design.
Like, it's like bookshelf-looking light displays, and then it's about 3 computers to act. Like, it's just such an inefficient use of space, is what it is.
Yes, it's terrible. The thing that makes me so happy about this is, he doesn't find what he needs in the archives, obviously, because it's been wiped or whatever. But so what he does is he goes to Yoda to ask for help as to why, Camino doesn't exist. And Yoda's response is to ask the class of 5-year-olds that he's teaching what the answer is. And they get it immediately. So it's like Obi-Wan is actually so bad at putting this together that a group of 5-year-olds is able to figure it out quicker than he could.
And I think it's funny because he comes to them with the thing where he's like, so it's not in the archives, but I have found all the physics evidence that the gravity's there. There's just nothing there on the map. But what do you think? What are the kids just
it's pretty straightforward. I am disappointed that Obi-Wan couldn't figure it out. Yeah, the kid's like, well, clearly there's something that is causing a gravitational pull. Like, oh, very smart. Well, it is actually pretty smart for a 5-year-old, but Obi-Wan could have guessed
the librarian lady is a Jedi and she mind tricked Obi-Wan.
Oh, she is. Speaking of weird side characters.
Oh, here we go. What's this one? This one's called Librarian Shusho.
No, she's definitely hang on. I'm just gonna look it up so that I can...
just Google it. Let's hear it live.
All right, so her name is Jocasta Nu.
Found her.
Okay, cool. Like it. Does she have a series of books about her?
Mandalorian, probably.
Oh, she is actually a Jedi.
Yeah.
Jocasta Nu. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there's definitely
like,
a scene in Clone Wars where here it is, where she helps fight off Cad Bane, the bounty hunter guy with Ahsoka.
Oh my god! I googled her, and all these images come up of her like in a cave tending to like 2 ferrets, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? All these characters have such rich lives.
Oh, hey, this is pretty cool. So she survived the Jedi Purge, and then Sidious dispatched a bunch of agents and Darth Vader to go and hunt her down. So she actually got killed by Darth Vader. That's fucking rad.
I'm on her page, and she's got like a 4,000-word biography.
She's awesome.
Look how old she is.
She gets much more than Elon Sleaze Bogano.
Yeah. That name gets funnier every time I hear it. Is it like just a bunch of sleaze and bargain? Is that what it's supposed to be?
It's so low effort.
It is.
Good times.
So good.
Okay, hey, can we touch on this?
Sorry, Reuben,
sorry, yeah, tell me more.
Before you go, how high do you reckon Jocasta Nu is?
What do you like?
What's
on
her
drugs?
Yes.
According
to the wiki, it's 1.69 meters.
She's so tall. Oh no, well that's just compared to me. But why are they like?
Why did they know that?
Why is her height on here?
Did someone who made that up? I'm so confused. Hair color, white. Eye color, blue.
Useful facts there.
You know what this is a side note. You know what I always love that these fan wikis do? They always have like other names for characters, and they always just include like nicknames a character uses in like an episode. So you go to like, the page for fucking I don't know, like fucking the Doctor from Doctor Who. Sorry, I've been watching Doctor Who recently. That's why all my examples keep
Okay.
And it's like, it'll be like other names for the Doctor, and it'll include like, there was one episode where the Slovene called him, Dr. Arsehole, and so that'll be in like his list of aliases.
Yeah, I love that.
Alias.
It's not an alias. It's like if somebody gets your name wrong once and calls you like, if somebody called me Hannah once because it's my twin sister's name, it's like, it's not a nickname for me now. Like,
that would be in your alias.
Yeah, that's in your list of aliases.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
I want to bring us back on track for a moment. I apologize because there's a thread that just gets left dangling in this movie, right? Which is that we learn that 10 years ago, a Jedi, I think, whose name is like Sifo Dyas, went to Camino and commanded them to ordered a clone army, and also like presumably hid the record of Camino's location from the rest of the Jedi. But we don't know why, and it never gets resolved. It never, unless I missed it or it happens in a future film, it never like, they never are like, oh, and this is what Sifo Dyas was up to. It just is like, oh, he just ordered an army and it comes in handy because we're going to need an army.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And then many years later, Dave Filoni came to the rescue and put it in Clone Wars and kind of resolved it.
Okay. No, but Georgia, did he? Because I very recently watched the episode of Clone Wars that features the wrapping up of the Sifo Dyas plotline.
It's still
pretty
vague.
I left that episode more confused than.
So, is there a reason why he made this? He ordered this army.
From my memory of the episode, Georgia, you might clear this up because I left the episode very confused. He had like Force visions that there would be a war, and decided that the Jedi needed an army, and so he told the Jedi Council, and they said no, but he did it anyway.
And then it was right.
Basically, well, yeah, but then it was like right after he ordered it, then I think Dooku just like killed him, and then Dooku and Sidious took it over or some shit like that.
I think that's basically what happened. I'm just checking the Wikipedia to see.
This episode prominently features Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, like, I don't know if you do sponsorships, but
oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh, but there's a lot of reading to do here. But
we'll set that as homework for next time.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I think that's what happened though, Ellie. I think that's what you said.
Okay, so
anyway.
Last thing in the Jedi Temple then before we do move on. So the bit where Obi first comes into the room of the 5-year-olds who are smarter than him. It's so fucking adorable. They've all got those big helmets on, and they're doing like the lightsaber bouncy trick.
Yeah, the thing that Luke does with Obi-Wan at the very start of the first movie. Yeah.
But it was
It's
just
so
fucking
cute.
adorable. Like, there's all these like 6-year-old kids. Some of them are dressed up as aliens in these ridiculous outfits. They've all got goofy helmets on, and they're just like clearly wiggling swords around.
And then somebody's had to go in there and animate little blaster things to go and hit where they've like put their little lightsabers.
I just thought this was fucking adorable. Like, I love this scene.
10 points to Star Wars for that one.
So after all of this, Obi-Wan goes off to the Camino system, and he finds that the Kaminoans have been building a clone army for the Republic for 10 years now, as we've kind of already touched on. But anyway, Obi-Wan arrives on Camino, and he just strolls straight in the front door. He's got no fucking idea where he is. He just walks straight through the front door, and it's amazing.
He strolls straight in like it's not even a thing. He's gone there to find what is clearly a secret base. And he just walks in the front door assuming that everything will just kind of work out. And it does. Like, it's great.
It's so funny. And he walks in, he's like, it's like that John Travolta meme where he kind of just like walks in and he just like sort of looks to one side, looks to the other, like, huh, where am I? And then this lady just walks up and is like, we've been expecting you. He's like, oh, okay.
Oh, great, perfect. I knew some plot would come along and find me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, the Jedi just know their main characters. Like, that's just how it works, I guess. He's just like, I don't know, some shit will fall in my lap.
Yep, and then it does.
But can we fawn over just like, I guess Camino, but also just the aesthetic of maybe even this whole movie, the whole prequel trilogy. Like, Camino fucking rules.
It's cool.
It's constantly raining and cloudy on these fucking white, whatever the fuck you call them, floating above the water. Like,
yeah, just like these floating platformy things.
I don't know if I'm confusing it for like a lot of other sci-fi things that have the same premise, but I think Camino is supposed to be like a planet that basically got destroyed by global warming and then all the seas rose, and that's why it's like a sort of shithole, and the Kaminoans have had to build themselves these little pods to live in. I could have
So my problem with that is it's not only constantly flooded, but it's constantly raining, which means there's a ton of water in the upper atmosphere, as well as like where was all this water when there was land is my question then.
Yeah.
Was this an ice planet that warmed up maybe?
I could see that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, because Star Wars just does that thing, I think, where it's like every planet only has one climate.
Yeah.
And that's like whatever. That's
it's like
fine.
the ice world of it. It's like, oh, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, like, you could just imagine someone like, landing in Canada like as an alien and just being like, "Oh, an ice planet."
An ice planet. Yeah, exactly.
No. So like, yeah, maybe there's bits of Camino that aren't just a rainy like drag, but yeah, I don't know. The global warming thing makes no sense to me because it's also constantly raining. So this water had to come from somewhere. Maybe rather than global warming, they were importing water and they imported too much.
Yeah. I think this is definitely being overthought.
It was just an import problem that led to them destroying their planet.
It's a capitalist metaphor. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, I like that.
But Camino fucking looks great. Like there's this moment where we cut from like an Anakin and Padme scene, or their ship name is presumably Anime. So that we skip from some boring anime shit to like this stingray ship like exiting the water on Camino and like flying into.
Oh no, that's not a ship. It's a fucking stingray that can fly. Like they're living creatures. Cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
And like I remember that scene so vividly because I was like bored out of my mind watching the anime, and then like we cut straight back to Camino, and it was as if the movie was saying, "Okay, we're done with that boring shit. Let's get back to the real shit."
Everyone pay attention again.
Yeah, wake up!
Fucking ball of stingray like jumping out of the water. And they're like, their prime minister has a mohawk. I like that.
Yeah, I really love the design of the Kaminoans. Like they're so perfect for like these creepy cloning aliens. Like they're very like unsettling and very original design. Just
they look like they're gonna probe you.
Like all of the
they
aliens
definitely feel unsettling.
Yeah, and just like all of the prequels and the original trilogy, just the designs of the aliens are so cool. And like I went to an exhibit when I was in London a few years ago of like all the designs and stuff. It was called Star Wars Identities, and it was really cool. It was all about like how, like perceptions of all these things to do with identity in Star Wars, but there was all these big sections on like the designs for aliens with all like the sketches that artists had done and like lots of the props and stuff. And you're just like, man, there's just like so much creativity here. And then you look at like, and I don't want to be that person who shits all over the sequels constantly, but like the sequels, just all of the aliens looked the same. There was like Maz, and then there was the alien that looks like Maz, and there was the other alien that looks like Maz. It's like, oh, they just like totally lost that. Like there's so much effort put into the designs for the aliens in these in the first 6 films.
I think I talked about this in Media MD, so I'll do it quickly. But like, the other thing I really like is the original trilogy very much has its own vibe, and like, you know, you can look at something like The Mandalorian and be like, oh, this is set like around the same time as the original 3 movies, and then there's such a distinct and like equally impressive visual language for these prequel times. Like you can boot up something like Clone Wars and be like, oh, this is set during the prequels because like this is also visually distinct, and that's what the sequel movies don't have. They're like this watered down version of the original trilogy, but they don't have their own style.
Yeah, that's very true.
Like I can't look at those movies and get this vibe of like this is a specific era. It just feels like, and you know, that's what the movies are. It's like, oh, the First Order is just a discount Empire, and the visuals are just discount the original trilogy. And like I feel like that was what they missed, is like the sequels should have defined their own new sets of technologies and aliens and color palette and all that.
Yeah, they really lacked the creativity of because like, you know, we should sit here and like bag out all of the crappy like dialogue and stuff, but the thing that Star Wars has always done super well is like it's very creative and original like sort of world that they've built, and the sequels didn't really play into that, and that was like that's the big thing that Star Wars has going for it.
Yeah, like these movies, these 3 that we're watching, they have so much style. It's a shame about the substance, but like they're oozing with style. I mean, the hyperdrive ring, the Obi-Wan's ship, like that was such a cool thing. Cool. Like, oh, my ship has like an add-on for when I need hyperdrive because it doesn't fit the. I was like, that's fucking. I love this. Like, how cool's that? And
it's such a good idea. Yeah, and
I can't remember anything like that from the sequel series.
So after this, Obi-Wan gets into a fight with Jango Fett. And then he chases him and Boba through an asteroid field all the way to Geonosis. And there they find Dooku and a bunch of separatists discussing some politics. And then, Obi-Wan manages to escape and gets a message off just before he goes. And I'd just like to start by talking about the Boba v Obi-Wan fight, because I think that was so cool. I really love that fight. I think because there's a lot of, especially in the films, it's just always like Jedi fighting other Jedi or Sith or whatever. And this is like probably one of the only fights where you get to see somebody who's not a Jedi kind of holding their own against a Jedi. It's just kind of really like grungy, desperate fight. I really like that fight scene.
I liked when Boba started shooting from the ship to help.
Get him.
Actually, as well, before Obi-Wan leaves, can we talk about like, so one of the lines that the Kaminoan person says as she's showing Obi the army just before this fight scene is she's like, "This is one of the finest armies we've ever produced." How often are they making armies? Like,
it's a weird question. Thing.
If they're cloners, what is their like? How does their society support itself? I don't understand. Is it that common that you need to order an army of clones?
Well, somebody like earlier in the movie says that the Republic has been like not at war for thousands of years or something.
Yeah.
So it's presumably outside the Republic. I don't know. It's just like it's just crazy to me that
they could be supplying like outer rim, like, you know, syndicates or something, with like much smaller scale armies, maybe.
Yeah. If only there existed some sort of group in the galaxy, like a peacekeeping group, who could stop a civilization that was cloning armies for crime syndicates. I don't know. That would be cool.
But what if they ended up hiring them instead?
Yeah. What if they rehabilitated them to make their own clone army?
I feel like there's something in Clone Wars about the Kaminoans also being like just generally like medically very advanced. So I think that maybe they don't just clone, they might also produce like medicines and things.
Well, they produce cool poison darts, yeah.
Yeah, and poisons. And the opposite of medicines also. Anti-medicines.
I suppose if you know how to make medicines, you're probably good to make poisons. That does make sense to me. Also, Boba and Jango are Kiwis. That was a neat surprise.
Yeah.
Django Fett, like that's what's his name's dad? Not Seaman, Aquaman. in the movie.
Khal Drogo's dad.
Yeah, Khal Drogo's dad.
What?
In the Aquaman movie.
Oh,
Jason
sorry,
Momoa.
plays his father.
He plays his
Jason
father.
Momoa's
He's
God,
not
I
his
thought you
actual
were saying this
father.
is Django.
I thought you were saying it was Jason
Yeah.
Momoa's actual dad. And I was like, that
No,
can't
like,
be
I
right.
think that's like the only other thing he's ever been in, but he just like randomly popped up in that film.
Isn't he in Moana?
He quite possibly is. Okay, quick Google. Who's going to
Yeah,
get
break.
there first?
Check the Wikipedia.
It's a
Django
race.
Fett actor.
I'm on his IMDb. His name
Oh.
is Tamura Morrison.
But what
He's
else
such
is
a
he in?
good choice to play Django Fett. He just looks so physically
Oh,
imposing.
Actually, I'm not going to bring that up.
So
He was in Star Wars Battlefront 2 as Boba
he was
Fett.
in Aquaman. He was in
Wait, is
Dora
he-
and the Lost
Oh
City
yeah,
of Gold.
sorry, I was about to
He was
ask.
in Moana. I was right. He's Moana's dad.
I was about to
Yeah,
ask,
he is
is he
too.
Boba Fett as well? And then I realized how stupid that is because it's a clone.
It's back in time.
It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to cut that. That was the thing I didn't want to say that I found on his
Oh, okay.
IMDb.
Fine, cut it.
Here.
Okay,
Ellen.
cut here. And now, cut back in. Sorry for the spoiler, everyone.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He's great. I loved it. He's very like imposing and cool.
And it's nice to see someone who's like not American or British.
Yeah, they exist
yeah,
in
I mean-
Star Wars.
Yeah,
Star Wars has never been subtle as well about how British people are like,
baddies.
particularly in the Imperial Age,
Yeah.
the like high class baddies, and this are the high class like pompous idiots. But yeah, like it is nice to know that there's also other types of humans. Let's not get into the whole way humans sit in the galaxy thing, because I think that's been talked to death,
Yeah.
even by us. But yeah. Actually, and speaking of cool shit in these films, Django's ship is really cool because it works in like different orientations.
Yeah, I did like that.
Like, yeah, not enough space movies have ships that like do wacky crap like that.
Because it makes sense in Star Wars, like they use their ships in atmosphere and out of atmosphere. So once you're out of atmosphere, it's like you could just have your ship however you want it.
Yeah.
There's no
Do
wind
flips
resistance.
and
Do whatever you
shit.
feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, like he rotates it so it's the way that's not aerodynamic, but that lets him have more like lasers on the front. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, that makes sense.
It does make sense. Like the hyperdrive ring. See,
Yeah.
people put effort into these like films, you know, into the creative side of it.
Right down to the names of all the
Yeah. That's where they lost their energy at that point, and they're like, yeah, gun Ray. Like ray gun. No, oh wait, gun Ray.
Yeah.
Reuben brought that up in the group watch, and it was like, I think for George and I were just like, oh shit, it's a good point.
His
Gun
name
Ray
is just Ray Gun
I
backwards.
know. And then you think about like Skywalker, and you're like, oh,
Oh
such a
yeah,
stupid
not
name.
super creative. Are they?
It's so stupid.
Well, yeah, and I mean the other one that's obviously ridiculous is like his name is Dark Sidious or Evil Dad is the name of this character.
Actually, speaking of Darth people, so we later on we learned that Darth Tyrannus, which is absolutely
A
the
classic,
best Darth
classic
name.
Yeah.
name. Yep.
Oh, that is honestly the best one. That's Dooku, and Dooku, like,
He's
Which is
So when
also
Obi-
kind of an evil name, by the way.
yeah.
yeah.
Also, his account, which I don't understand how that interacts with him being a Jedi.
I don't know what his account of.
His account, like on Sesame Street, he's just good at counting.
He's got the Jedi record for counting high in one breath. So he like captures Obi-Wan here, and basically there's this scene where he tries to turn Obi-Wan onto his side. And he makes a pretty fucking compelling case, especially since everything he says is true. Like there's no one getting forsworn right here. And like this is insane to me because I was more familiar with the character from having watched Clone Wars recently, where he's just a Sith Lord, and he's just this like it's the same thing with Anakin and Darth Vader. Like once these characters become Sith Lords, they're so much less interesting than like the Dooku here, who actually is raising legitimate points about the problems with the Republic and the fact it's being run by a Sith, is so much more interesting than the Dooku in Clone Wars, who's just trying to kill everyone because he's an evil overlord now.
Yeah, and like I guess it's like, I don't know, are all the Jedi supposed to have been so like brainwashed that even though he's like making these very good points, Obi-Wan's just like, no, you're bad. You have a red lightsaber, so you're bad.
I could get behind Obi-Wan turning him down because he's brainwashed or whatever, but like they don't. If they put more effort into it, and if it was a more like troubled decision, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know, or if we got more than a scene of Dooku not being overtly mega evil.
Yeah,
like it's just a shame that we get like one scene of him here where it's like his first real scene, and I was like, this character's fascinating. And then already by the end of this movie, he's just kind of an evil
by the
guy.
The next time we see him, he's literally chaining people to poles and feeding them to monstrous animals. Like, it goes bad very quickly.
Like I've said the same thing about Anakin when we did our Clone Wars episode of Media MD. Like Anakin, even in this movie, is more interesting to me than Darth Vader, who's just so gone.
Yeah.
And even Rebels, when it featured Vader, they're forced to make him uninteresting once they're proper Sith Lords. It's such a shame.
Yeah. Well, I've read some couple of interesting facts about his early life in his biography that explains the Count thing. So he was born on a planet called Sereno, to the planet's ruler, who was a count called Count Gora, and his wife Countess Anya. And so then, anyway, they abandoned him, and then the Jedi came and found him. But he was integrated into.
They abandoned him.
Yes, because they didn't like Force-sensitive people, and so the dad was going to kill him. So the mum, the dad. Which one's which? The dad abandoned him outside of his palace on the edge of the forest to try and get him eaten by wolves. But then a Jedi quickly swooped in and grabbed him.
Real Moses shit.
He didn't inherit his counthood. Whatever.
So I don't know why he's
wouldn't
really
you have to give that up when you become a Jedi anyway?
Probably. Well, it's not the Night's Watch, I don't think, but it's similar.
Yeah, kind of is the
you
Night's
meant to
Watch.
contact with your family.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, he was initiated alongside Sifo Dyas. So apparently they were best friends, I guess.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
All works. Star Wars is actually brilliant and not at all stupid.
Right now, I'm that lady from the meme with all the math going around in the background. It's all coming together.
Yeah, Dooku and Sifo Dyas were close friends.
Whoa.
And there's something where maybe this is where the Count thing came from. Maybe it's actually an unkind nickname because apparently Dooku was very impressive and had superior abilities, and others were jealous and they used to call him His Excellency.
They called him.
Do you
Count
think they were forced to call him Count, like in class? Like, it's Count Dooku.
Yeah, I'm only Dooku to my friends. I don't know.
I'm just imagining like a 12-year-old that's called Count Dooku. It just makes no sense.
It's like, why can't I make any friends?
Yeah.
Call me Count.
Anyway. So yeah, see, politics in Star Wars can be interesting.
Yeah, honestly, I loved this scene. I would have traded a lot of this movie for more of this scene where Dooku tries to convince Obi-Wan that he's right, because he absolutely is.
Yeah.
It's such a shame he turns out to be a Sith Lord, because before that I was totally on board with him and everything he was saying.
Yeah, it's like a lot of kind of sci-fi and fantasy stuff. Sometimes it's really disappointing when they just like when they have it as like a sort of good and evil thing, because often within the good they'll have like a bit of grey kind of area, like you'll have some anti-heroes and stuff. But there's always just this thing where there's like a baddie and there's like this line you cross to become a baddie, which Star Wars has. Like once your lightsaber turns red, it's just like presumed that
You're
I mean, they can't. Like Asajj Ventress is probably the one exception that they kind of like a little bit do in Clone Wars. But
I forgot about her.
Yes, yeah. I really wish they would bring her back in something because she was such a cool character and she's just like disappeared. Anyway, Dave Filoni, if you're listening, please bring back Asajj Ventress. Yeah, but it's kind of annoying because it like turns them one-dimensional.
Yeah.
All right, so we end up back on Naboo. Where Padme speaks with the new queen, who is also like a sort of 14-year-old looking girl, and the council. And then her and Annie go on a retreat.
So to be fair, this actually happens like way earlier in the movie, but most of this movie was cutting between the Naboo shit and all of Obi shit, and I just front loaded our episode with all the Obi shit so we could skim through all this crap.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one thing I was going to kind of mention, because I mentioned in the chat that it's like they've got this council and they've got this like young queen, and then they just had to comfort us all with this like old white guy who sort of gets a few lines where he gets to kind of chastise the queen a little bit.
He gets to decide what they do because he's the old white man.
But then, to be fair, because I feel like one of the best things about Star Wars has always been they've got like really good female characters. Like even from, the first film that was made like 40, 50 years ago or whatever, had really like strong female characters. They just chuck this old white guy in randomly. But then I think he says something, he's being like nagging, and then the queen's just kind of like, and she just like turns to Padme. I was like, what do you think I should do? I was like, oh, okay, no, they saved it. But yeah, I do really like the female representation in Star Wars. I think it's like very, very well done.
Although,
except for Padme.
Well, no, I was going to say, have they ever? I mean, are there women in this universe who are competent that aren't white skinned and brown haired? Because that's one thing I've just noticed is all the lead women in Star Wars movies,
no, it's so true. It's like they started with So yeah, they started with Carrie Fisher, and then they just like did the same thing, like Daisy Ridley and what's her face from Rogue One, Natalie Portman. Yeah.
Well, I think the other actress in contention for Rogue One was Tatiana Maslany, which is like, again, like she fit that to a T.
I mean, I would say maybe one that is a bit different now is Cara Dune from The Mandalorian. She's pretty original.
Is that Ming Na Wen's character? I haven't seen Mandalorian.
She's played by, oh my god, what's her name?
Was that the WWE?
Yeah, the WWE.
Or no, not MMA.
No, MMA wrestler.
I heard about that.
Oh, what's her name? Oh, quick, back to Google.
get back to Wikipedia.
You'd sort of know her.
So
is it Ronda Rousey?
Gina Carano.
Gina Carano. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in the finale. She's the chick who's like helps him fight off.
I only made it like 4 episodes.
Oh my god, you have to watch that show. Season 2 is so good.
I will.
Do it.
Yeah. So back to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm such a big Mandalorian fan. I'm just bringing everything back to the Mandalorian.
There's like one point on this retreat that Anakin and Amidala, the anime crew, go on. And we already sort of touched on it, but they literally frolic in a field.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
And to me, this was more offensive than the death sticks as a metaphor. Like, it's just like, I mean, we've already touched on how bad the writing of like their lines is, but it's just like, just to literally have them frolic in a field. I was like, okay, we get it. They're fucking falling. Like, can we move on?
It's very. Yeah. It must be to make fun of this scene. It feels like it's a self-parody. It's bizarre.
It makes me think of how there'll be those things and it's like quotes that kids have said, like young kids have said about marriage, and it's like, and the quotes are really funny because it's like the kids don't really understand what marriage is, and all the information they have on it is like very secondhand from like their parents and from seeing their friends' parents. So they say all these funny things that are kind of like they've like slightly misunderstood it or they haven't quite got it right. And that's what it felt like, a kid writing a romance scene based on what they think that romance is meant to be from just like stuff that they've seen in like
from
films.
too many movies.
Yeah. But like they don't actually know what a romance is. And that's what this movie feels like.
Yeah, I think I made the comparison. I felt, I said it was like done by a GPT bot, which feels like the same comparison. Like you train a bot on like romance scenes and get it to write it, and the bot spits out nonsense like, I hate sand. It's coarse and rough and gets everywhere. And then, like they're like,
and then he says, "Not like you," doesn't he? Or am I making it up?
That's supposed to be a
absolute nonsense. Oh my god!
But it works. I mean, look. We
can't bang him out too much because he pulls it off.
God, Padme must be so lonely.
I mean, yeah, she definitely like needs a psychologist.
Yeah, or just like, another option, maybe. I don't know.
clearly being elected a queen at 14 did a number on her psychiatry.
I actually like the bit where they have her say, she's like, oh, you know, I kind of feel like maybe I was a bit young to be queen at 14. It's like, yeah, no shit.
No shit.
It's ridiculously young. Anakin's like, oh, I heard you did really well. She's like, yeah, but like, it's pretty young.
But now I have a thing for incels, so, you know.
Yeah. Developed unhealthy expectations of relationships for some reason, secondary to that. Let's skip on from that. So following this,
let's move on quickly.
Anakin has a thing that he insists is not a nightmare because Jedi don't have nightmares about his mum. So
Another classic line.
It's such a weird thing to be so adamant about when he's clearly just had a nightmare as well.
It's such a moody teenager thing. He's like, I'm a Jedi. Jedis don't have nightmares.
Don't have a nightmare, Mum.
I'm a big boy.
Anyway, so he doesn't have a nightmare about his mum. So he and Padme go back to Tatooine finally, despite all the sand there that's going to, you know, cause him even more distress.
It's going to get everywhere.
He does manage to save his mum just in time for her to just die, and then he has a rampage. He goes full crazy.
I mean, like, what jumped out to me here for all this is like, so Anakin just waited 10 years to check in on his mum?
Yeah, that's wild.
Mm.
Like, the last thing he said to his mum before this was, I'll be back soon to rescue you, right?
Yeah, something along those lines. I don't know if it's like,
yeah.
I don't know if they kind of maybe imply that the Jedi are really strict and, you know, that they have that whole thing about like not having too many attachments and being able to let go. So I don't know if it's kind of implied that maybe he was sort of forbidden from going, but I find it hard to believe that Anakin didn't go, yeah, sure, and just like sneak off.
Yeah. It honestly, I got the impression that he forgot she existed until he had his not a nightmare.
Yeah.
And he says he's been having these nightmares for a while, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy that he just, I mean, you must feel so bad as Anakin. You ignore these nightmares for like a month. And then you finally go and check it out, and it turns out your mum has been kidnapped a month ago, and you just haven't. Like, she's been, you know, psychically calling out for you for months, only to die the instant you get there. It's pretty.
Yeah,
rough.
and it's also your time. It's like if you had left like one day earlier, you would have gotten there one day before she died. Like, she died as he rescued her. The timing is terrible.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, to me, like, you know, there's probably, you know, some whole thing about the relief of knowing Anakin was there, like, let her let go or some bullshit. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But it's almost like, because the way it happens is she's, like, hung up on this sort of cross thing. And it's like the second he cuts her off of that and holds her, she dies. And I can't help but think that, like, what if they had her hung up there to keep her alive? Like, you know, it's like, or she'd been up there for so long.
From the medical service that the Tusken Raiders or whatever were.
Yeah. No, probably more realistically, it was like, you know, they like the shock of just not being hung up there anymore. Like I don't know, maybe he needed to be more gentle or something. Like, you know, it's like when someone like wasn't there like a whole thing where it was like prisoners of war or something? Like a lot of them like died after they got given chocolate or something because it was like such a shock to their bodies.
Oh, you can get like refeeding syndromes and stuff. So if you don't eat for a long time, then when you do eat, you get all these like electrolyte disturbances and you die. It's like little old people who come into hospital who've been like malnourished or anorexic people come into hospital can like die of these refeeding syndromes when you start feeding them food again. And I think that's what a lot of the prisoner of wars died from. So
she had like horizontaling syndrome.
A very legitimate illness in the Star Wars universe.
Like, I know this is not specific to Star Wars, but just like death scenes in films, it's just like they're so weird. It's like people don't go from like speaking to somebody to being dead within like 10 seconds. It's just not how it works. But I do get that it's more dramatic.
Yeah, I'm willing to give them a poetic license on that one. It is very sad. Although it's funny because then he comes back home to the Skywalker house because we find out that Shmi was sold to the people who raise Luke in the later movies, I think.
Mm.
And he's just like, because he has this whole speech that he gives to Padme about like what happened, and he's sort of like, and now I'm here and I can't do anything. And I was just sitting there, I was like, you could free like just a dozen slaves, let's say. Like, just that's something you can do.
Nope, not on the to-do list.
Too much effort.
Yeah. Can we talk about this person whose name I've forgotten, who is the person that Shmi ends up marrying, who I realized, I mean, okay, we'll get to the fact that this doesn't make any sense in a second, but he looks so much like Mark Hamill, which at the time when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh, wow, nice job on the casting. They really made this family look alike. But Georgia, you've correctly pointed out, they actually don't have a blood relation, so it doesn't make any sense. But he actually genuinely does look a lot like an old Mark Hamill.
He does. His name is Klieg Lars. I've done some more Googling. He does look like Mark Hamill.
Maybe because Anakin, isn't Anakin's daddy the Force? That was the thing from last movie.
Right.
Yes,
so maybe
he doesn't have a daddy. This is
what
his
every good
stepdaddy.
franchise needs? No. You know what every good franchise needs?
Yeah, a time
traveling fetuses.
Yeah, exactly.
Hear me out.
So C plus S for Shmi equals A for Anakin, right?
Yeah, the Force, like, Anakin got his Force powers from exposure to the time vortex on his trip as a fetus back in time. I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who. Yeah, I also, sorry, when they first get to the Lars estate, which it's a moisture farm, which I did think was a nice touch if you're going to have a desert planet.
Yeah,
but but isn't that what, I mean, that's from the original movie, right?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
Well, the original movie's got a handful of things right. I'm like, like, so when they first arrive, C-3PO is like all excited. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, the Maker is here!"
I love that.
That's just what, I don't know. I don't really have anything to say. That one just cracked me up. That like C-3PO is so excited that the Maker is here.
I love that Padme remembers him. And it's like, oh, hey, 3PO. It's like you met him for like 2 days 10 years ago. She remembers him.
They were pretty eventful 2 days. I mean, fucking nothing happened in the 10 years.
So C-3PO is pretty fucking annoying, so you'd probably remember his voice.
Yeah,
she's
Padme
not a
was
Jedi,
excited to turn her into a senator or something, I bet. I was like, oh, that annoying guy. Oh, yeah, I'm sure I have a role in my government for him.
Yeah.
Well, they do just kind of kidnap C-3PO when they leave.
They do. They just kind of take him. It's not clear whether to be fair, he was Anakin's. Like, Anakin did build him.
Yeah,
or is he Watto's? Because do you think that, like, Lars bought C-3PO with Shmi?
It was a package deal.
Yeah.
To be no.
What
to
is
be
like?
fair,
I'll throw in this fucking annoying droid for free.
I don't feel the need to concern myself with the ownership of people and like the rules they're in. You know, if they want to take 3PO, even though he's technically someone else's property because of a slave trade, like go for it. Like,
yeah, well, it goes back to episode 1. It's like, oh no, we can't take Shmi because we didn't buy her. Like, what? What the fuck?
Well, and that's like because they do try to like make us like this these Lars people, but it's because it's like, oh well, you know, he bought the slave, but then he did sort of marry her and free her or something. So it's like, okay, it's like, well, I mean, he was still doing the slave trade, so he's not.
Unless, like, I suppose if he somehow met her and fell in love with her first, and then was like, I will.
That's the assumption I made because it's a lot more mentally convenient.
So like a really Disney princess, fucking.
Yeah, well, because they don't seem like the sort of people who would have, like, they don't look well enough off to like have slaves or whatever on their moisture farm.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know. Let's just take that optimistic. Let's just take that. Yeah. So basically, Anakin kills all of the Sand people.
Yep, which is a pretty brutal massacre.
But the women,
even
and the
women
children.
and the children.
Yeah, which is a grim scene when Anakin's like confessing this later to Padme.
They're animals,
and
I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. Anyway, I'll stop.
It was such a I found this the most powerful. Like, I thought that scene really, Anakin's emotion and the pure, clear evil in him really worked on me in that scene.
Yeah, it did. And they played like a bit of that Darth Vader scene in the background. And,
yes.
Like, because Hayden Christensen gets like he has like a sort of semi-bad reputation, probably not as bad as the poor old kid from the episode 1. But people like slag him off as being a shitty actor. But then there's, you know, a lot of the big prequel fans coming through now sort of saying like, well, he actually played the role really perfectly.
Yeah,
like
as
he's
written,
very convincing. He's like the perfect kind of incel, like angsty teen sort of thing. And like these scenes where he's playing, and like, you know, in the third film coming up, like he plays a lot of the big scenes really well. I actually think he's really good.
I'd be willing to bet that a lot of the people who criticize Hayden Christensen's acting are people
Just hate
with
the
incelish
script.
tendencies who didn't like the mirror that was being put on. Because I would agree. Like I've definitely come in with the interpretation that he's doing a good job at portraying the character as like a whiny, you know, kid I want to punch in the face on purpose, and he's fucking killing it in that
Yeah,
regard.
because
And
like that
you're
really
right. This
visceral,
monologue,
like cringy reaction that I get, I'm like, it's because he's nailing it. Like, I think that's
it's like Joffrey Baratheon. Like, it's,
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and this scene, like, is pretty powerful. And I think I touched on this in last month's episode, and I really want to talk about it in the next one. But like for me, the only thing I really remember about this trilogy, and I think the only thing it's trying to do, is tell Anakin's story, and everything else is tacked on.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that like this scene mattered so much to you, Ruben, is because like this is one of the big scenes for Anakin's journey, and so they put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, paid off, definitely.
Except Padme is just kind of like, oh, you poor thing. You did a mass
what is
murder.
that reaction?
It's weird that, like, because like as much as we're saying like, oh yeah, you know, and if you really feel for Anakin and that, but also like, I couldn't fall in love with that man. Like,
Well, yeah, he just murdered a bunch of people. Like, clearly he is a villain.
I do like
He
it
needs
because even though
help,
he goes
but-
at the end and he's like, oh, I'm better, like I'm a Jedi, I should do, like I'm better than this, you know. It's like, yeah, but like still he did it. Like, you couldn't forgive. Like, oh, I don't know. It's pretty fucking bad.
Well, you don't get with that person. You get them help.
But she also gets with him like not very long after even. It's like later that day that she professes her love for him. You know, it's weird. Yeah, because he's gone from being like a kind of whiny incel to being like an actual psychopath. She's like, oh, I'm so in love with you. That's real weird. Anyway, after this, Anakin and Padme get a message from Obi-Wan about some droid factories that he's found to produce an army for the Separatists. So they decide to head there, and then they also forwarded along to Coruscant. In Coruscant, Jar Jar manages to get the Republic Army bill through the Senate.
Yay,
Now,
Jar Jar.
remember that part where I said Padme didn't want that? Basically, yeah, this is the one thing that he wasn't meant to do, and he's succeeded in doing it.
I do want to call this scene out, though, because this was a politics scene where a thing actually happened. Like, we've complained so much about people talking about what happens and stuff. We actually, for once, do get to see, like, Jar Jar get convinced, and then we cut to the Senate, and he actually, like, does the big mistake, and we get Palpatine's evil grin, and I was just like, hey, even this fucking Jar Jar bit is doing better than, like, the movie has on average with showing us, like, the politics stuff.
It's a great movie. That's the only explanation. It's a perfect film.
Yeah. Also, as a side note from this whole bit, there's a bit where Yoda is talking about all the stuff going on and how things are going south so quickly, and he basically says, I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, the Jedi are shit, and we're getting shitter. And I was like, yeah, you know, that's the smartest thing Yoda's said since he schooled Obi-Wan with that 5-year-old.
But isn't he like, if anyone has the power to affect change, surely it's Yoda in this system, right? Isn't Yoda like in charge?
Yeah. There's actually, I think there's actually a in like some Count Dooku book. There's a thing that I've seen it a couple of times, like a quote, and it's Count Dooku going on this rant about how Yoda's actually a real shithead, and it's basically along those lines. It's like this dude is like 900 years old and is like super duper powerful, and he just does nothing, and you're like, huh. Kind of true.
I mean, valid. 100% correct.
Once again, Dooku tells the truth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dooku's very interesting pre-Clone Wars.
Yeah. But actually, like, because I haven't watched this movie probably as much as the others because of the epic cringe. But I have no memory of that bit where Yoda was basically said that like the Jedi's ability to use the Force had decreased, and that they had like better tell the Republic or whatever. I was like, oh, that is so interesting. Like, I had no recollection of that. And it's like, why is that the case? Because is it because of something to do with like Sidious's increasing power is like upping their power, or is it because they're kind of losing touch with their kind of
With, like,
ideals
people.
and so is it like coming from them, or is it coming from the dark side? Because I suppose either way, it's like, well, is there like a finite? Because in one is like a finite amount of power that
Of
the Force can
midichlorians.
give. Yeah, exactly. And it's like
Yeah, you
Sidious
have to ask the
stealing it.
mitochondria.
And so then does that explain why like the Jedi are more OP in the original trilogy and the sequel trilogies, or like
I had actually made a retcon in my head while watching the sequels that it was because there were less Force users that they were more powerful.
yeah, exactly. But then there's like,
but like,
yeah,
look, I don't think it's worth worrying about.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
it's just going to be bullshit
yeah.
either way.
But still, I found that bit interesting. I was like, oh, I hadn't like heard that bit before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's symbolic of how the Jedi are about to fall because they're a bunch of arrogant dickheads.
Yeah, and that kind of idea that it's not like, they were sort of semi-brought down by Palpatine, but they also, I think, contributed to their own demise.
I mean, they set
their
him
own
up.
failures, yeah, which I think is like a really interesting sort of plot that they had. Anyway, so basically Anakin and Padme go to Geonosis and they epically fail their stealthy invasion of the droid factory. They end up being chased through a shitty Fall Guys course.
This part is clearly just the part of the movie that's made so the official Star Wars Attack of the Clones video game has a few good levels in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I unashamedly enjoyed the shit out of this scene. Like, it was so stupid, but I thought it was very fun. Like, watching these two clots their way through, like, all these stupid machines that are just so impractical, but it's like conveyor belts that are just slamming shit and they have to time it. I know, it was fun. There's a bit where C-3PO gets, like, chopped in half and his head is put on a droid and a droid's head is put on his body. And, like, I said earlier that I don't enjoy C-3PO. This is actually the only time I can remember in any of these movies I've enjoyed C-3PO. Like, this comedy bit is so fucking stupid and I liked it anyway.
It's also funny because that little comedy subplot gets it, like, they carry it through.
It
like,
lasts
all
a long
the way
time,
through
yeah.
to the big fight scene at the end, and they keep popping him in there, and you're like, oh, he's back.
Yeah, and there's like a droid head on his body that's confused why its body's so shit, and then he's on the droid body
and he's
and
like,
he
I
can't
must need
control it.
maintenance. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I
It's
found it
surprisingly
hilarious.
funny. Then there's also the bit where when Padme's in like the big bowl and like it's coming up the conveyor belt to get all the liquid gold poured into it. And I don't know, when I was watching it, I was just like I was like, oh my God, that would be terrifying. Like, imagine seeing all this like hot molten gold. There was a part of me that was thinking she can't see it because she's down in the thing.
Yeah.
But still, this like concept that presuming she had some idea of what was going to happen, I was like, oh, that would be so terrifying. And like, I don't know if it's because she's like the only character that doesn't have superpowers, that just watching that, I thought that would be so scary. And it really touched me, that one little bit. Poor Padme. Lucky R2 comes to the rescue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which again,
like,
I'm not sure
I agree.
how R2 could possibly have known where she was. But again, I'm like definitely reading into that too much.
Yeah. I agree. I just fucking love this scene. I think
it was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Good solid action scene.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's right up there with the car chase scene for me in this movie.
One of the fun things that we learned that I really liked was the Genosians are these insecty kind of creatures, and up until now the design for the droids hadn't made any sense to me because they're kind of like weird and tweedy, and they've got these like almost like alien from Alien style xenomorph heads, right? But that's just what the Genosians look like, and I was like, oh cool, that's why the robots look like this.
That was such a good observation. I had never noticed that. You said it, I was like, oh shit, they do. I had never thought about it.
That blew my mind as well. That's such a good observation.
Yeah, it was cool. I was excited to see it, and like the kind of reverse jointed legs and stuff. It all made sense.
So the gang, the trio, they all end up captured. They're put into the gladiatorial ring thing with all the Geonosian insects, ready to watch them get killed.
When we're introduced to 3 kind of creatures, I thought that was so fun. We've got the the rhino thing. We've got one that's kind of like a snake, and one that's like a weird fish monster thing, I guess. Like
I
the
know
wolf snake thing.
Yeah, it's called a Nexu.
Thanks.
I just thought that was fun. I thought it was fun to just have a bunch of random alien creatures.
Yeah, they're cool.
The Nexu are in the board game I played with some people on the Doof Discord ages ago. And they were the fucking worst. They jump around a lot.
Mm-hmm. Good,
So,
another good action
fun
sequence.
fact.
Yeah, well, it's cool because all
stuff.
three of them had like very different kind of like fighting styles. I don't know, does an animal have a fighting style? But it meant that like each of the sort of fight scenes with the creatures was really different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. It's a really good scene.
I thought it worked really well.
Plus just the sort of gladiator ring thing is just really epic. It's just cool.
It's a simple premise, but it'll work.
Mm.
And so, Georgia, there was a comment that you made during the group watch that I want to pull out because there's a bit where anime are standing on top of a giant pole and they drop down to land on I don't know, what do we call this? The big bull one?
Yeah,
and they sort of land on it. And
Padme just like lands. She jumps like it's like at least 5 meters or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she just jumps straight like into a straddle position. It's like
yes, and you made a comment about straddling.
I said, "Don't Google it," is what I said.
Yeah.
So don't Google it.
Do you stand by that?
Yeah, it's horrible. Every time, that's the only thing I cringe at harder than the romance in this movie. Every time I'm like, oh, Padme. Oh God.
Because I always thought that was a Jedi power, like super jumping.
Yeah, but Padme's not a Jedi.
I think this is a great scene. I just loved all the animal stuff. Like, it's just the animals are so engaging, and like they're CGI obviously, and they don't look great, but they hold up relatively well. It's fine. It's just a fun little scene.
It's easier to get away with it when you're doing monsters like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't have to risk falling into the uncanny valley.
Because I think that it's the facial expressions that sort of undo like characters that are CGI'd, I think. But you don't have to worry about
the same with
that for these.
Yeah. It's the same with the procedural animation in game. Like you don't do that with human characters, but you can do it with like spiders because humans are just way more sensitive to like people walking slightly wrong.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of Geonosians die in this scene. I don't know. They need to work on their OHS in general.
For their gladiatorial combat, they need to improve their health and safety.
Well, I mean,
the guards shouldn't have to die.
Yeah, you don't build electric chairs that sometimes spark out and hit the guards.
It's true. I mean, it's not an execution as such. It's for entertainment, right? Like, honestly, I think Dooku made a mistake. He should have just had them killed. But it's a classic villain mistake of trying to have people killed in the most entertaining way possible for the audience.
Yeah,
it's unclear why they do that.
Just for fun.
Come to think of it,
just because it spices it up for the grunts.
Yeah. So then things escalate when the Jedi rip off that scene from Korra where the Equalists show up at the probe bending. And so they return up and join in the fight.
It's so like that scene. I didn't realize until you just said that, but it's the exact same scene where suddenly there's just a bunch of Equalists in the audience.
To be fair, I'm pretty sure this came first.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think as well. So like obviously now we have this scene where there's like 50 Jedi fighting or whatever, and I was particularly focused on Samuel L. Jackson because he's got that captivating purple lightsaber. But just like everyone else, they were clearly having so much fun filming this because they're clearly standing there with these swords and just like flicking them around a bunch. It was definitely noticeable that it was just people swishing the swords and then the lasers were added in afterwards. Like I guess compared to like Clone Wars and Rebels, which I've watched recently, like because they're animated, it's very like deliberate swipes that the Jedi do in those where they sort of stop exactly where the laser is to deflect it. And it like this looked a lot worse having just watched those shows because you can't really get the actors to do that as well. So it's clearly just people sort of swishing from side to side and then like some dudes just added in a laser that like bounces off it at some point.
That's very true, actually. That's a pretty good observation. I hadn't really thought about why there's that slight difference.
I think it's the follow through. Like I think in the animated shows they sort of stop where they want it to bounce off.
Yeah. But so many Jedi die in this scene too. Like, how many Jedi do you think land in the ring? And, like, well over 50% of them die. I reckon, like, 2/3 to 3/4 of them die. And, like, there hasn't been a war for thousands of years or whatever.
It's a massacre.
That must have been there must have been a huge funeral after this. Like, you think about Qui-Gon's funeral. There's, like, all these people looking real sad. This is like that times
it's like a million
70.
Qui-Gons.
Yeah. So many Qui-Gons. How many Jedi even are there? I get really confused about that because, like, on the one hand, they reference it a few times, like they say numbers, like there's hundreds of them or something. It's like, yeah, but if that's true, how come during the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan and Anakin did, like, everything?
Because they were the good ones. There's a point in Rebels where Kanan says there were 10,000 Jedi.
Yeah, and I'm like, that has to be too many. There's no way that they wiped out 10,000 of them.
I don't know. Yeah, that's one of those things where I'm just like, I'm not going to worry about it. They clearly have no idea. That's fine.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, neither of you guys, I don't think are much Harry Potter fans, but in terms of that, how many people are in each house in the school, because, you know, people do the maths. It's like, oh, well, you know, there's in the books there's like 5 boys in Gryffindor in Harry's year, and then there's 5 girls, so there's 10 of them. And so if you say that there's 10, so there's 40 per year, and then there's 7 years, so there's something like 240 kids at this school. But I think there's some other thing where they've kind of said like that there's like way more than that, and JK was just like, oh yeah, I fucked up the maths. I feel like this is a bit like that. They're just like, oh, this is, I don't know, 10,000 Jedi, and then somebody thinks that, and like, that doesn't really make any sense.
I mean, it's an endemic thing in a lot of stories because those numbers, I think, worrying about them too much gets in the way. If you actually being able to tell the story, you want.
Absolutely.
Like,
you end up like George R. R. Martin and spending like 8 years trying to figure out shit like that. So
yeah, well, it's like the 100, the show on CW. I think there's like 1,000 people alive at one point, and it's like they've been living there for generations, and half of them don't know each other, and have like never heard of it. It's like, oh, I'm not familiar with that family, and it's like, no, if there's only like 1,000 people alive,
yeah, you definitely would.
You know everyone.
You know of everyone. The show gets really confused about how big the population is, and you just sort of like oh, just go with it. Like, let's just make whatever point we want to make right now. It's fine.
Yeah. So during the battle, just as things are starting to look really bad, Yoda swoops in to save the day with a bunch of the fresh, new, shiny clones. So they turn things around, and then the gang, so Obi and Anakin, chase after Dooku as he tries to escape.
I want to touch on this because I was thinking about this when Yoda comes back in with the clones. I started thinking about why, like, what the actual in-universe reason is that Yoda just talks weird and how that's never been explained. And then I was kind of keeping an eye out to try and see if there's any like syntactic rules to it. And from this point on, when he comes in, I don't think he ever talks weird again until the very end. He's just kind of talking normally, like still in his weird Yoda voice, but he's just kind of like, Dooku, you're an evil man or whatever. And he doesn't say like, man, Dooku, evil you are or whatever. He just talks normal. And I felt like I was either going mental, or I had just like gotten so deep into Star Wars that I intrinsically understood Yodis.
You just automatically translate.
Yeah, it was Google translating in my brain.
Yeah, it got weirdly inconsistent for a bit there. I hadn't really noticed it. Because I feel like they're generally pretty consistent with his weird, like, inverted syntax.
I don't know, because sometimes, like, I was trying this after Reuben had this meltdown during our group watch, as you sort of realized. It was fucking hilarious. Reuben's like, why does he talk weird? And then there was just over 5 minutes. He's not talking weird. What's going on? I started, like, trying to talk like Yoda to myself a bit. And sometimes it's really easy to Yodify what you want to say, and sometimes it's very hard. So I feel like they just probably gave up.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case as well.
If it's too complex, just don't worry about it.
Yeah, and then there was this bit when they're chasing after Dooku, and there's this bit where he's on like a little speeder thing, and it just was they just like didn't quite get the effect right. It just looked really silly. Give me a good chuckle. It reminded me of in some of the Harry Potter movies when they're playing Quidditch and it all looks like really good, and then there'll just be one bit and it's just clearly somebody sitting on a stationary broom in front of a green screen. And there's just this weird bit with Dooku just like kind of like wee.
Well, it's Christopher Lee, right, who's like a serious actor and also not I mean, he's not heaps old, but he's not a young man. So I'm assuming for the bits with the speeder, he was just like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so they just like had to, I don't know, get other footage of him and like CGI it onto a speeder or something, because it just looks terrible.
Yeah,
I mean, in general, the effect quality in this movie is very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Like, there's constantly bits that look great, and then there'll just be a shot where I'm just like, what? I don't know. Like Yoda's another one where I'm just like, why didn't they use the puppet for half of it? Like, it's a bit all over the place. Probably some of it's just aged better than others, maybe. I don't know.
So after this, Obi-Wan and Anakin managed to catch up to Dooku because of his shitty speed technique, I suppose. And then they engage in a lightsaber duel. Dooku wins pretty easily. So then Yoda comes in to swoop in and save the day once again. But then Dooku does a little Superman special on him and he manages to get away.
Good fight. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's intense. Anakin actually loses his hand, which like I had forgotten happened in
every Star Wars movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit. Yeah, it happened, and I was like, oh shit, and then I was like, oh wait, I'm watching Star Wars. Of course, a Skywalker loses a hand. What am I talking about? But George, I have a question for you.
Oh yes.
Why is Dooku's lightsaber banana shaped?
Why? I'm so glad that you asked, because I definitely this is not something I'm Wikipediaing right now. This has been previously Wikipedia'd. So apparently, because you wrote that, and I thought, like, why would you need a banana-shaped lightsaber? Well, apparently it helps with control and gives him greater finesse and precision in combat when lunging or slashing at an opponent. This was done by Dooku as he considered himself a sophisticated duelist. That all sort of sounds fine, but I don't understand how having a banana-shaped lightsaber gives you more finesse.
There's got to be like a penis thing in here, like the lightsabers are phallic. I don't know. There's something.
I think we just can't question it too much.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that the only explanation we can give is, oh, it's Star Wars, you know. Like,
yeah. I suppose it's just for cool aesthetics, probably, to be honest.
Yeah, which I shouldn't make fun of because it's my favorite thing about this movie. Yeah. It's always been style over substance.
Yeah.
Although I will say there's this great line where, like after Obi-Wan and Anakin sort of get beat the first time, Anakin comes up for round 2, and Dooku's like, "I thought you would have learnt by now," and Anakin responds, "I am a slow learner." And I
burn,
love
Anakin.
that line.
Yeah.
Like that was genuinely, I laughed like a genuine like, haha, like, you know, that is what the movie wanted me to think. Laugh, which is rare. So like I just wanted to call it out because I was like, that's a good line.
And Obi-Wan's sitting there thinking like, I think I'm even stupider than a 5-year-old, and Anakin's even stupider than me.
Yeah. This is my student.
Yeah.
I'm getting...
Yeah, it reflects very poorly on you, Obi-Wan. Something I loved in this fight is Yoda actually, the CGI Yoda flipping around with his lightsaber actually genuinely looked cool, and I did not expect that to be the case, but it really was.
Yeah, like, you see him ignite his lightsaber, and you're like, and it's like, oh, that's actually really cool.
Yeah.
He's fucking jumping around doing flips. Like he's so much more agile than you'd expect, but he doesn't show like flexibility. Like I almost got the impression he is actually as immobile as he usually makes out, but he can like force push himself around.
So that's what I was thinking too.
he's just force flinging himself around the room, which is better. Like that's why I'm going to continue to believe it, because it's fucking hilarious.
It is a cool style.
And side note, I just did want to bring up, like, so Anakin loses his hand, but he's fine because he doesn't bleed out. I sort of realized, like, lightsaber wounds are self-cauterizing. Like that's great. What
convenient.
A cool
because see, the Jedi are actually really peaceful. So
even
as they're slicing, they're also healing the wound that they've just created because they're so peaceful.
What an apt metaphor.
All right, so now we have, just to summarize the very end of the film, we have a direct quote from the Wikipedia summary that Elliot very much enjoyed. As the Jedi acknowledge the beginning of the Clone Wars, Anakin is fitted with a robotic hand and marries Padme on Naboo, with C-3PO and R2-D2 as the only witnesses.
So I missed the only when I first read this, And I thought it was saying that they were like the marriage witnesses. Like, you know how like when you get married, for it to be legal, you need to have two witnesses.
I think that
I
is
thought
what
they
it's
were
saying.
implying. Yeah, okay. That's fucking wild. I love it. Like,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, yeah,
That's
it's
all you
just so
need.
weird. See, the film and R2D2 are just so randomly heavily involved. Like,
Yeah, why are they so involved? Again,
know.
I mean, this is just the story of Padme making bad choices about the entities in her life.
I mean, like dualistically, it's because they were popular in the original trilogy, and they're sort of the only same characters, so they do find excuses to put them in. But like in universe, it's just kind of like, why?
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't even understand why they're popular, though, to be honest. So what do I know?
R2D2 has his moments. C3PO had that
Has
one
no
moment in the
moments.
factory.
Yeah, I like R2D2.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
R2D2
The
is
head
cool in
swap.
the opening scene in the next film. Anyway, that's for next week.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
So what did we think of the movie then? It's over. How do we find it?
Oh, well, you were the first time watcher. Why don't you start?
I thought it was the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen, and I'm not even joking about that. Like, I actually unironically really liked a lot of the ridiculous stuff in this movie. I thought...
Sorry, which ones have you seen again, just to sort of quantify that?
Yeah.
The first one, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, the 2 standalones, and the Christmas special. So a decent number now.
Yeah,
I'm not doing too shabby.
Yeah. But you haven't seen episode 3.
Yes, or episode 8.
Episode 3 was my favorite until Solo came out.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say episode 3 is possibly my favorite. I really like Solo and Rogue One, though. I thought they were both very good. And if we were counting television shows, The Mandalorian would probably be my new favorite.
George is dead set. You're getting so much value out of your Disney Plus money. We just threw the Mandalorian.
Oh yeah, I watched like most
Are you
of The
sponsored
Simpsons
by Disney
as well.
Plus?
I was thinking that today. I was like, it's gonna sound like I'm being paid to promote The Mandalorian. And I was sending you guys pictures of my new Mandalorian shoes that I bought today. This cost me like $150. I bought them, like, I saw a Reddit post where somebody had them, and I was like, I need those. I had to like sign up to a club and all this shit to get them. Anyway, they arrived in like less than it. They arrived in like nearly 24 hours. They came really quickly. It's like, oh shit, here they are. I'm so excited.
Well, it's good to know I'm not the only idiot who falls for this commercial shit in the family.
They're so good.
But yeah, no, I like that's it. I stayed with Georgia like last month, and like while she was cooking and stuff, she was playing the Mandalorian soundtrack on Spotify.
Oh,
yeah, I just listened to it on repeat, like constantly for about over a year now.
Gosh.
I love it.
I mean, if it brings you joy, why not?
It is a very good soundtrack.
I've been doing the same thing with the Ocarina of Time soundtrack for like 15 years, so I'm not judging her. I just want everyone to understand how much Georgia fucking loves the Mandalorian. Yeah. So sorry to go back to how episode 2 was. Something I think you can probably tell based on like just the episode length of this, and just like as I was writing the notes, there were so many scenes in this movie that were on different planets. Like just compared to episode 1, where I felt like we were criticizing how it took place in like 3 places, and we were on them for so long that all of them felt disconnected. This movie really fixed that problem for me. Like we were just bouncing between planets and like interesting plot points, and also Anakin and Padme. Like, I don't know. I can't decide honestly if I like this one more than episode 1 or not. I as I walked out, I wanted to say episode 1 was better, but the more I dwell on this movie, the better I actually think it is.
Interesting.
I mean, I think that I don't know if I like it better or worse than the first one, like episode 1, but I would say that it has higher highs and lower lows. So I think the worst parts of this movie are a fair bit worse than the worst parts of episode 1. But I would say that like everything outside of the romance basically is probably quite a little bit better. Yeah, and
I think that's fair.
It's one that I've traditionally avoided a lot more because I hate the romance so much. And then I think it was about a year ago, Hannah and I rewatched it, and we actually just skipped all the romance scenes, and we were like, that was a really good movie. Like every time Anakin and Padme came on, we just like moved the slider until they sort of went off the little screen on the little thing down the bottom, and then we just keep watching. And it was like, that was actually as good as, episode 3.
Great film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd agree with the higher highs, lower lows. And I don't know if that means I think it's better or worse than the first one.
Yeah.
I do think the fact that it visited so many more locations and kept moving so much more was definitely...
made it more visually interesting, at least. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on in this movie. Like, even if there were boring scenes, it never stood still too long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
like
you gotta
if
give
you
it
didn't
credit
like
for
a
that.
planet, you were only there for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that's episode 2.
All right. Thumbs up.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a patron of Doof. We wouldn't be able to get together like this if we didn't have the patrons, because we wouldn't have this equipment or, just the motivation of knowing all of you actually like this stuff. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Actually, and before we go, I'm just going to spring this on both of you live.
Twist.
So I want to include it in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have we figured out what we're going to do after covering episode 3 next month?
Yeah, start watching episode 1 again. Constantly, every month. We're going to watch the 3 movies over and over
Hold
again.
on. I did not realize I was signing up for a Paul Blart Mall Cop.
Yeah, it's a
Forever
real
We
till
Blart.
death do us Blart style thing.
And then every time we could delve deeply into one different side character. Like, this time we did the librarian and the destic guy.
I love that. Yeah. we follow the life story of Elon Sleaze Pagano.
Honestly, if you had
Oh my god. That's so good.
if you had to pick a set of movies to Till Death Do We Blart, this is actually a pretty good selection.
You
There's
could
a lot of
get
stuff going on.
super into the full on backstories of all these weird things.
Yeah. There's so much lore for us to needlessly dive in. Okay, well I suppose that's an option.
Right, yeah. Asked and answered,
Plan
right?
Z.
Yeah, I don't know. If the audience has suggestions, we could look at other movies. I feel like there's probably an assumption we were going to move on to the original trilogy.
No, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like hating on stuff for a whole episode, and that's what I'm going to end up doing if we have to watch those movies. I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, we could do another. Is the idea that we do another thing where we have kind of somebody who isn't really familiar with it, and then one or two people who potentially are, or just things that'd be fun to watch and discuss?
I think ideally, I think it'd be fun to try and keep the dynamic of the noob, the expert, and then the third person could probably go wherever, but it's not a necessity.
So we've got this episode coming out in November. Obviously our third episode will come out in December. We could do a bonus episode. When does the Lego holiday special come out?
That comes out next week. I was actually going to ask if we should postpone episode 3 till January and do a holiday special next month.
Ooh, we could do that.
Pretty fun to me.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We could cover both holidays.
We could. I have not actually seen the original one.
It's a classic.
Oh, Reuben, we have to.
It's a classic.
Where does one get access?
Yeah, we get to... Wait, that means we get to be the ones who are the experts.
Yeah.
And you have to be the newbie.
I think that'll be fun. Let's
Disney
do that. Okay.
Plus? It can't be.
No.
I think
George Lucas is on record saying that he would destroy every copy with a baseball bat if he could get his hands on them.
So I follow Mark Hamill on Instagram because he's friggin' hilarious. But there was something recently where he basically was like, "Oh, that was really." Oh, he was talking about the presidential debate. He's like, "That was bad," and I was in the Star Wars holiday special.
Oh
yeah.
No, let's commit to doing that.
Yeah,
I reckon we do holiday specials next month.
Okay, so I'm just excited for the Lego Star Wars one.
Yeah,
I think it looks great.
same.
Yeah, it does look good.
I hope they do a lot of dumb shit that's making fun of the original holiday
it
special.
sounds like they're going to from the trailer they released.
I haven't seen the trailer.
I'll tell you the last line of the trailer is the young Han Solo from the original trilogy and an old Han Solo from the sequel, third trilogy, both pointing the guns at somebody and then looking at each other and saying, "Who should shoot first?" Which is just a classic.
Oh, that's pretty good. Why are Lego movies so good? It's so random.
I know, right?
The Batman one was so good. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Okay. So next month, let's watch the holiday special, then the Lego holiday special, and then in January we can do that boring old episode.
One idea that I did have for something we could do, but I don't know how familiar you guys are with it, is The Matrix. because that's something that I
interesting.
haven't seen like since I was really young. Like I don't really know much about it, but have thought it'd be cool to rewatch. But I don't really want to. I'd like to rewatch with other people. So I don't know if either of you guys are quite familiar with it at all.
I haven't watched it since I was also quite young, and I don't think I've even watched all of them. So I'm down.
Yeah,
it's definitely the kind that isn't like the first one great, and then they just get worse and worse. And also, there's a new one coming out soon.
Yeah,
so
that's what made me think of
First
it.
of all, no,
plus, like everybody loves
this is
Keanu
the same
Reeves.
misconception people have with Pirates of the Caribbean. They actually get better with each movie.
Oh, so Elliot's the expert for this one. Okay,
yeah,
I can dig it.
I mean, yeah, I suppose I could be. Like, I haven't seen them for like 10 years, but I watched all 3 of them a couple of times.
But you know, because that could be fun because you know it's
Ooh.
known for having such a like convoluted sort of like difficult to interpret plot. And we can all kind of sit there and be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Cool.
It'll be a very different vibe though, because I actually respect the Wachowskis and what they're going to do with stuff. So.
True. Yes.
Yeah,
I think they're actually like
good films too. Yeah.
Good filmmakers. Yeah. All right. Well, patrons, I guess let us know if you want that or something else or whatever.
We clearly don't
have
have
very
super
strong
concrete ideas. So, yeah, hit us up with suggestions or requests. We'll factor those in.
Cool.
Yeah, so until then, I guess we'll see you all next month as we talk about
the holiday
specials.
Yeah.
It's going to be so good.
See you then.
Trash fire, can't wait.